I'd like to call the July meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. Paula, would you call a roll?
Alan Brown.
Present.
Jeffrey Parks.
Present.
Suzanne Broadbent. Heather Clemmer.
Present.
Mila Crank-Clements. Greg Eddington.
Present.
George Massey.
Present.
Mary Jo Meacham.
Present.
And Ann Zacharitz.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to go over the procedure that's on the back of the front page of your agenda. The chairman will announce each case and ask interested parties to indicate their presence by raising their hand. Commissioners will discuss details of the case, calling on staff for details. Following this discussion, commissioners may choose to ask questions of parties present. Interested persons may speak to support or protest the application. The applicant will be entitled to one brief rebuttal. Interaction between applicant and protestants on the floor is not permitted. Persons speaking are asked to approach the center podium one at a time to introduce themselves by name and address and to present their position as succinctly as possible. The Commission asks each speaker to limit his or her remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Following the public hearing on an application, the Commission will take one of the following actions. 1, approve the certificate of appropriateness. 2, continue the proposal. 3, deny the proposal with prejudice, which means the application may not be resubmitted for at least 1 year unless the Commission determines that circumstances have changed. Or 4, deny the proposal without prejudice, which means the applicant may reapply at any time. When an application has been approved and after a 10-day protest period has expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the CA to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA has been issued. And then contact HP staff for final design review inspection in order to withdraw items that will not be completed. And finally, any person aggrieved by any decision granting or denying a CA may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the Board of Adjustment. Okay. Item 2 from the Office of the Historic Preservation Officer. Katie?
So we wanted to announce that we now have the ability to accept payments for your applications online. You can actually, the application form has been made into a fillable PDF, so you can fill it out online, you can upload your documents and email them all to us, attached to an email, and then we will send you directions and a website link to pay the application fee online. Formerly, people had to come in person and pay that application fee. So we hope this will really help applicants, especially folks for whom it's not convenient to come downtown. We still strongly encourage everyone to call or email or come meet with staff as you're preparing an application, and not just blindly send it to us. We really, we are there to help you prepare your application and have it as ready to go as possible at the point you submit. But this will just streamline that process a little bit. And then we, starting in the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing an additional process for public notice of administrative approvals. Previously, the only public notice of administrative approvals was in the agenda each month. So we'll now have a new process where those do go out to adjacent property owners, similar to certificate of appropriate, the applications that come to the Commission. Largely, that's only going to affect staff and our process. I think most applicants and most residents aren't going to really notice a change, except you might be getting a few more little public notice things in the mail from the Commission. But just wanted to let people know that was happening.
Right. Thank you. Excuse me. Any comments on that? With that, we'll go then to item 3, acceptance of minutes of the previous meeting from May 25th, which was earlier than, wasn't in June. Any comments or motion?
Move to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Jeff Parks and seconded by Ann Zacharitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are accepted. Item 4, code enforcement report. Anybody here make a report? Doesn't look like it.
If
So-
anyone has questions about anything on that report, feel free to email Angela or myself, and we can follow up with the inspectors.
Okay. Any comments? Nothing? Okay. We'll go on then to item 5, continuance, announcements, and requests. And there are none, right?
No requests and no new requests.
Okay. Moving forward, item 6, public hearings. Dilapidated structures.
We have 2 dilapidated structures, both garages this month. First one, C16-25-411 at 123 Northwest 21st Street, Heritage Hills East, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action to receive Historic Preservation Commission comments regarding the garage structure in the process of being declared dilapidated as initiated by the City of Oklahoma City Development Services Code Enforcement pertaining to properties that contribute to the historic integrity of the historic district. And 2, effective proposed demolition of structure on the historic character of the property and district. Our refresher each time we do one of these is that when they are being declared dilapidated by the city, the commission does not have the ability to grant or deny a certificate of appropriateness. The commission is asked to comment on the impact of the demolition on the historic character and integrity of the property and district.
Okay, and you've,
And on this one, this one we did receive comments from Heritage Hills East Neighborhood Association as well.
anybody like to comment on this?
On Dr. Ice's very eloquent letter, we have no legal standing or recourse to assist in dilapidated structures prior to this process, right, Rita? Here's one right here if you'd like.
Dr. Ice and I talked about this case, and the neighborhood is aware that the commission's role really doesn't affect the dilapidated process and the code enforcement process. They run on 2 separate tracks.
Right.
And so he, I think, intends to kind of follow this one through the process to City Council, but just wanted to make that statement in writing at each opportunity that, yeah. Thank you.
There's a specific finding number 3, that the garage structure appears to be an imminent threat to public health and safety. Is that a new one? Or do we usually have that finding in dilapidated?
We don't always note that. This was one in particular that we did feel like it was worth saying, that sometimes we see dilapidated structures
Right.
that we know if they were to come to the commission privately for a CA, we would say it was not in
Right.
such bad shape that it needed to be torn down. This was one where we did not feel that way, where it truly does look to be in very poor condition. So
Right.
whether that's a valid comment.
And I don't know that I disagree with that comment. If this gets forwarded onto the city council without that comment, and well, that foolish HP commission thinks this is really, super and historic and just a great building, without that acknowledgement, it makes us look a little silly when this is obviously, in a state, even though it is historic, and its loss will be at detriment to the neighborhood.
Yeah, I think it's possibly a good way to acknowledge that there are 2 separate discussions here. One is what's historic, what's significant, what's
Right.
part of the character, and one is the structural integrity and the safety issue.
Sure. Okay.
Was there a reason, and I meant to say this many times previously, on the number 2 specific findings, demolition of the structure will have an adverse effect on the historic character of the district. In my opinion, something in that condition is not going to have any adverse historic character, because I think it's adverse that it's there.
But it's still historic fabric that we're losing.
This
Just giving my opinion.
No, yeah.
between
I get that.
historic and aesthetic character.
An adverse effect on the historic character.
Right.
Was that George?
I think it's still, even though it is, staff is saying imminent threat, it could be, it could be repaired. It's not impossible.
They all
to
could,
be.
probably.
They all could be repaired.
Almost anything,
Almost
yeah.
any of
Right.
it can be
Could be-
repaired. So, and it is original, and it does have the original fabric. So, it still is the loss of a piece of the district. But yeah, it's always kind of funny.
Right. Just stating my thoughts. Thank you.
Well, not to belabor this, but I have one question. As far as number 3 goes, whether it's an imminent threat, if we're supposed to vote to say that, what are we basing that on, just these photos? I mean, is there testimony to that or something?
Code enforcement.
It's just the photo documentation that's been submitted, so it does say appears to be, if that makes you more comfortable, not is an imminent threat.
When an owner comes in wanting to demolish garage, we typically ask for some sort of professional opinion. An
Sometimes,
engineer.
but not always.
Sometimes, but not always.
Right, depending on the visible condition, in a photograph or that sort of thing.
But I think too, though, when people, a lot of times when we're being presented with it, they have a plan, an action plan. They're going to rebuild the garage. So we may be losing something, but we're not, there's kind of a plan to replace it. Whereas in these situations, there's no plan to replace it. I still don't understand, do we have to add number 3?
No, you don't have to do anything that staff recommends at all, ever.
And something like this, when it appears, was because it was cited by code enforcement? Okay.
Could,
Or because staff visited the site and physically observed.
Our staff. Yeah, okay.
is code enforcement here to speak to this?
No, it doesn't look like it.
No, he's not here today.
Because I think sometimes we ask them the history of the situation.
Right. And the Neighborhood Association would like for us to issue a penalty some type. Wish we could, but I don't know how we do that. Yeah. Citizens
Katie,
arrest.
are we just saying, are we making a motion to pass along the specific findings in regards to this case? I guess I don't know what else to call it.
Yes, so we, as it's kind of spelled out in the ordinance, we're asked to comment on, so the motion would be to forward these comments.
Forward this. I would make a motion to forward the specific findings found by staff, items 1 and 2 only.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Greg Eddington. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. It's recommended with those findings. Next.
C-16-26334 at 120 Northwest 29th Street, Jefferson Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action to receive Historic Preservation Commission comments regarding the garage structure in the process of being declared dilapidated as initiated by the City of Oklahoma City Development Services Code Enforcement pertaining to 1, properties that contribute to the historic integrity of the historic district, and 2, effect of proposed demolition of the structure on the historic character of the property and district.
Okay. Whoa.
Kind of the same situation. I would make a motion to forward the comments of the specific findings from staff, items 1 and 2 only.
Second.
So as a point of discussion on that, just out of curiosity, omitting number 3, just because you're not comfortable based on the evidence provided that that's necessary?
I just
or-
like to stick to design and character in that. I feel like it's a professional, and if code enforcement's not here to talk about the history of what's happened, then I feel, that would be my comment there.
Okay.
Has it been like a year problem, a 10-year problem,
Right.
or,
Right. I think that comment number 3 is not necessarily an untrue comment, but I understand if we don't want the commission to say that, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, personally, I just,
Because we can't say for sure, just
we can't.
appearance, but apparently we've done that.
Right. Again, I feel more comfortable when people have a plan to rebuild something that complements the house. If it's like this and we see it, then I feel more comfortable saying, allowing for demolition, but we don't. Katie, do we include that when people are asking to demolish a garage? Do you include that imminent threat?
Yes, that usually is, if we think it is an imminent threat, that usually is part of our findings on a demolition CA.
Because we don't always use that. Sometimes we just say, hey, it looks like it's in bad condition, and we allow people to tear it down. I think. We don't always ask for an engineer's report.
No, I know, right.
Okay, so it's been moved, seconded, right? Moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Greg Eddington. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, recommended with those two findings also. Okay, on to B, National Register.
NRHP 16-00003 at 201 North Walker, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on a resolution recommending the National Register nomination of Civic Center to the Mayor and City Council, the Oklahoma Historic Preservation Review Committee, the State Historic Preservation Officer, and the Keeper of the National Register. This is a National Register nomination that we use certified local government funds through our annual grant from the State Historic Preservation Office to have prepared. This is obviously a city-owned building, so it had been identified previously as historic and felt like it was just a good thing to do as a steward of a historic building for the city to have it nominated and listed on the National Register. The Civic Center is eligible at the local level for both its architecture and for its historic significance. It's a really thorough National Register nomination, but prior to the construction of convention centers and the Myriad and things like that, this was kind of the place, not only for Oklahoma City, but for the entire region, to see all sorts of events, from concerts to political rallies and speakers and even sporting events. The design ties in with with this building, with the Municipal Hall and with the County Courthouse and with the old jail, and was part of a Works Progress administration project to develop civic structures in downtown Oklahoma City. So you have the proposed nomination and a draft resolution to forward those comments on to City Council, and then it will go from there to the State Historic Preservation Office. And Linda Ozan's here from SHPO to answer any additional questions.
Welcome.
Thank you. Linda Ozan with the State Historic Preservation Office, 800 Nazi Judy Drive. I'm here to answer any questions you have.
So is the Civic Center the only one of the 4 WPA buildings that will be on the National Register as a part of, or are any of the other 3 on the National Register at this point?
This building?
City Hall, the County Courthouse, or the jail?
This building's listed and the County Courthouse is listed. The jail is not listed.
The jail is not.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Just curious, the renovation that was done and the interior, which was, completely gutted and rebuilt, how did that factor into this?
It was really, when we talked about the architecture, we were looking specifically at the exterior of the building. Mm-hmm. And so when we talked about the significance as an event center or a venue like that, it still exhibits those kind of characteristics. So it didn't really impact it in terms of integrity, because the initial use of the building is still there, and it's still the intent of the building.
There are a lot of interior spaces that are still intact, like the lobby when you first enter the building,
Hall of
and
Mirrors.
the little theater, and the Hall of Mirrors that still have the original character.
Those public spaces are pretty...
Yep.
Okay. Is there a motion to recommend this to the council? Maybe our historians.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Heather Clemmer, seconded by Jeff Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, recommended.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now on to consent docket. Would anybody like to consider one of these individually? Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent docket?
Move to approve the consent docket in its entirety.
Second. Moved by Jeff Parks and seconded by Ann Zakowicz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, consent docket's approved, and if you are on the consent docket, you can leave now, so. Unless you want to stick around and watch the fun. Okay, on to D, cases for individual consideration.
HPCA 15-00204 at 2820 North Robinson Avenue, Jefferson Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of David and Rosemary Jackson for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace all exterior doors required, 2, rebuild existing windows required, 3, reconstruct rear wall required, and 4, replace flat roof with metal elective. The Commission has seen this application previously and had asked for clarification about some items.
Okay, is the applicant present? No? Any comments? Okay, were you finished? I'm sorry. Yes. Okay.
I'm in agreement with staff that if the, I still think that, I don't know if we've been able to ask the, I mean, the applicant has never appeared, but I'm in agreement with staff with item 1. Without a discussion of what the applicant intends to do with the metal roof, the metal is not supported by the guidelines, as the staff says, so I'm in agreement there to deny that part. It doesn't seem like a standard application, and it's not really described as to how they would put a metal roof on that building. I can only, I don't know. It's not allowed anyway, so.
But on the 3.7.15, new metal roof shall match the details of the historic metal roof they replace.
It's just a flat.
This is more of a membrane.
Right.
Right, this is one where we don't have evidence of a historic metal roof.
There must be some problems with this type of roofing or something, because the other problem we have is where they've been stretching the thing over the top of the parapet.
Yeah, the membrane. Mm-hmm. That's on here too.
Yeah, that's on there too.
We'll get to that one.
Neither one of those seem to be a standard application to fix a roof.
Okay.
Do you want a motion to approve that part without the applicant ever coming before us to ask questions, or?
Well, it's
That's the only thing I mean,
to get them to acknowledge that the conditions are okay?
right.
Yeah.
I just feel like that they're, how are they agreeing to the conditions if they're not here?
Oh, for the other items.
Right.
Angela, have we had any response to them on the conditions? She's looking. Oh, so this is the last, they're on their last continuance, so we can't continue this one again from this point. It has to either be approved or denied.
So if we approve it with the conditions and
Agree to them.
Well, I mean, the other is there significant information in regards to the windows and doors for everybody to know what the applicant is intending to do? I did talk to Angela about this briefly, and she said she's seen the sashes. A lot of them, I guess, have been removed.
Yes, I believe they have some of the sashes stored in the building. To your question, no, we don't have the typical level of documentation that we really see on these.
Now, as far as the conditions that are recommended for this, the applicant is fully aware of these conditions and has agreed to them.
Okay.
I just feel like that we're allowing them to submit less documentation than than usual, I guess. I mean, wonder if one of the sashes doesn't work and they have to build a new one, or there's all sorts of other material that needs to be addressed. I mean, are they in agreement that where the fascia is in bad condition, they're going to replace it with the same material? The underneath of the porch is falling down. Are they going to repair that and replace it with that original material, or if we go ahead with this, are they just going to go forward? Those are my thoughts.
Do you want to specify additional information to be provided to the staff?
You're concerned about the porch material? It has already been replaced with tongue and groove in-kind material. I can at least speak to that one.
It is kind of, I guess we have some. We have a door, cut sheet. There
With
you
the
go.
owner that he was going to test for the mortar and so forth.
He has indicated that he is having the mortar tested for the exact recipe to replace that, and in conjunction with the historic bricks. He has also indicated that he's going to replicate the casing and framing for the existing windows, although I've not been able to see an existing historic casing for the windows there or the framework. He's indicated the same for the door replacement, that he will in fact be replicating the historic condition of the frame and that sort of thing around those doors. They are brick openings, so the openings themselves are not going to change. The doors have been replaced repeatedly over the past 15 to 20 years. But again, I've not seen any of that historic fabric, so I don't know what they would be replicating. I do not have the documentation, and I don't anticipate getting it at this time.
So, Joe?
Does anybody else have any hesitancy?
I do, and I feel like that if we're talking about approving with conditions, we haven't seen any documentation. Are we approving with conditions because they're out of continuances? That's a concern I have as well.
Is this the one with the ladder that?
Yes.
that
It's just such a big project, I think, to, if they get started and then it's not specific, and then they're doing things that are not,
Yes.
itemized, or then what would happen? I mean, what is the person, if the code enforcement person goes out in a year, what kind of documentation is he going to be able to take out there to compare for what they did versus what was approved?
You are right. We have approved items in the past with the condition that someone submit additional material to staff after the fact, although usually that person has been present to be able to agree to that. And with the difficulty that we've had to this point in getting documentation, that might be an approval that never leaves my desk and sits there waiting for documentation for a very long time.
Right.
So in other words, if we approved that part with that condition, you wouldn't issue the CA until you got that information?
Correct. If we've approved a CA with the condition
So
that
it's kinda
additional
like a
information
denial.
be submitted, then staff's not going to release it until that information's been received and is attached.
So it's kind of like a denial in a way. Just never gets issued.
But people bring in things to staff all the time after the meeting in order to get the CA approved. I mean, when we ask for them. But
It really isn't like a denial, though, to some extent, because once a certificate of appropriateness is indicated in our computer system that it's been approved, then any process that's currently moving forward to address things that are happening at the property, that will cease until the expiration of that certificate of appropriateness. So that's one thing to keep in mind.
So given that the applicant's not here to agree to any kind of conditions, and given the uncertainty of the documentation that's been received this far, as always, you don't have to follow staff's recommendation. You can certainly say that They haven't provided what they needed to provide in the time that they had under this application, which has been quite a long time. We've seen
Right.
this one 3 times now. And deny it without prejudice, and then they could come back and reapply at any point with adequate documentation.
I mean, I'm inclined to do that only because I was hoping that the applicant would be here today so that we could wrap this up. Because I think if the applicant was here today, we could have, possibly. But so I would make a motion to deny
That's when we started
With-
this?
without prejudice.
Second.
Oh, is that for all items, or do you want to?
I would say for all items. I just,
Because that might
Even the
indicate to
metal-
them that the metal roof might be okay, but, you know what I'm saying?
Deny that one separately.
I think you could, well, so far we've seen virtually nothing about the metal roof and what that indicates. So it might be okay to deny it without prejudice, and that if they come back with sufficient documentation, we have that discussion at that point.
right. And if they come into staff, talk to staff. Anyway, that's my motion.
Okay, who was the second? Okay, it's been moved by Joe Meacham and seconded by Heather Clemmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item has been denied.
HPCA 16-00055 at 719 Northwest 20th, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Samuel Stalkup and Mariad Todd for certificate of appropriateness to 1, install gate and fence on west and north sides elective, 3, install fence on east side elective, and 5, install arch trellis elective. And you did have comments from the Mesta Park Historic Preservation Review Committee that were in support of the fence installation, but did not support the proposed trellis.
Okay, is the applicant present? Okay.
My name is, I'm the homeowner, Sam Swalkup, and so I spoke with Angela last month on the phone, and we agreed.
Could you sign in also?
Yeah. I spoke with Angela last month, and we agreed to drop the arbor from the design. I guess it's still in there, but so it would just be like a picket fence with a gate.
Right. Any comments from anybody?
Do you mean that you were withdrawing the trellis
Yeah.
portion?
Yeah, the arch.
Okay.
Item 5. Okay.
Has the design of the picket fence changed?
No.
I guess I'm not, Angela, somebody says, one of the, in the comments from the neighborhood was the transparency guidelines. Does the picket fence not, I mean, it's not solid.
I mean, I guess I'm asking for an exception or a different
Right.
interpretation.
I mean, I just, it looks transparent to me.
The fence is in fact transparent. It does not reach 75% transparent unless you consider the fact that most fences are 6 feet tall rather than 4 feet tall. But the fence in and of itself at 4 feet tall is not 75% transparent. And even a 75% transparent fence would be required to be located 6 feet back from the front wall of the house, rather than within 1 to 2 feet of that front corner.
Okay, and so we would be, so there's unique circumstances with this as part of the staff findings then?
Yes, for the fence.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve HPCA 16-00055 items 1 and 2 with the recommended findings from staff and the unique circumstances also provided by staff.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second, but just to clarify, it's 1 and 3?
1 and 2.
3.
Oh, what about?
That was withdrawn.
Yeah,
There's
He's withdrawing number 3.
He's withdrawing number 5, sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's actually numbers 1, 3, and 5.
Oh, 1,
Sorry,
3,
our
and 5.
numbering
I'm
has
sorry,
gotten-
1 and 3.
The 3 off. Okay. So, Greg, was that second? Moved by Joe Meacham, and second by Greg Eddington. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Items 1 and 3 are approved. All
We don't
right.
need anything done for item
Do we need
5.
anything official on item 5 since he's...
No, the applicant indicated from the podium that he officially withdrew item number 5, so the minutes will reflect that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
HPCA 16-00079 at 545 Northwest 38th Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Eric and Aaron Renegar by Brian Beavers for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct rear addition at first floor, and 2, construct rear addition at second floor, elective. The commission reviewed this at a previous meeting. There was previously an addition proposed over the attached garage, which is attached on the side of the house. They've revised the drawings to remove that portion of the addition. The remaining issues that the staff report raises were just about the side elevation not stepping in any from the historic structure and the configuration of the windows on that side, although those will be fairly minimally visible. It'll be an addition above that existing extension off of the back.
Is the applicant present? Okay, there he is.
Brian Beavers.
Any questions for the applicant or comments?
I'm in agreement with staff in that generally when we do additions, we always have a setback so that we can differentiate the addition from the original structure. And so generally, we've had, like a minimum of a foot, it seems like, just in general, because we're wanting to make sure that the addition can later be assessed as an addition, not part of the original property. Would that be possible?
Yes, I believe that would be possible.
Especially since in this case, there's not really a differentiation in material. It will be a continuous material. So, some sort of, gesture to what the historic structure is versus what's been an addition.
Sure. Would there be a separate option to differentiate the material and not do a setback?
I mean, yes.
Okay.
We've looked at that before. You
Could
have
revise that
material
and
in
submit.
mind?
Okay.
Like, what would you give us?
The option 2 would be to propose siding without a setback,
Any comment?
or keep the brick with a setback.
Yeah, one of the problems is that Katie pointed out is the window on the, which side is that?
It's on the east side.
East elevation?
Is it east? The 2 new windows that, the second window in the, master bedroom is where the corner of the existing structure is. So it'd be hard to differentiate because that line will go right through the middle of that window. So that, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one problem. That would require a plan change or changing that room. Creativity, but that's one thing I see. That window pattern on the east is a little different.
It's the window itself or the differentiation between the materials?
That's something to look at.
Are
The thing with
y'all-
sliding,
Are you referring to the east elevation, second floor, where it says new Colby and Colby windows?
right,
To be sure.
the roof line, that corner
I
of the
see.
building right now goes right through that window.
I see.
So, and you can't move the window to the north, is it north? Because of the plan, so.
The window be removed?
The new one? That'd be one thing to consider. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be one way to do it. It would be a lot of wall without
Yeah.
just one small window there at the shower, I guess, but that would be one way to do it.
You could put a window just to relieve that wall a little bit in the master closet.
Right. Right.
That's a nice closet.
Maybe it deserves a window.
It needs a window. Yeah. There are already two in there.
I see.
Could have one on the east.
Say again?
In order to leave that east elevation, you could put a window, in the walk-in closet. Maybe it's a small one like the other in the shower. I don't know. I don't want to design it for you, but that's,
Sure, that's an option.
if you took that one window out, it would make a pretty.
Right, without the second window in the master bedroom, that's a lot of wall space that, it's up high, it's kind of visible, between the houses. You'll still be able to see that, and that's a lot of wall without any kind of relief in it. So we're just trying to think of maybe some other ways or windows or something to help break up that large wall surface.
Sure.
That would not be typical of a,
That'd be a good possibility to put in the closet.
Okay. Overall, I think it's a great step forward, and taking it off the top of the garage, which was obviously visible from the street. That was, I appreciate the need for the space, but it really changed the character of the house. So I think overall, it's a great step forward. We still need a few little tweaks to differentiate new from old, but I think it's pretty close.
Okay, so staff is recommending continuing? Yeah.
Did you
Okay.
have any other questions?
No other questions? Thank you.
Oh, there's someone else.
Thank you.
There's someone in the
So-
audience who wants to.
Oh, is there somebody who'd like to speak?
My name's Andrew Thomas. I'm the architect on the project.
Okay.
With regard to the step back, I just wanted to make it clear as far as the addition. We have an existing first floor structure, so if we are stepping it back, are we talking about stepping the second floor wall over? Because in past, if we've added on and done a step back, we've always had a wall that would go from the footing all the way up, to whatever, the first, second floor. I don't want to have to move the wall. I mean, I wouldn't want to move the wall over a foot above an existing structure. That would create in my opinion, a very unusual situation.
Right.
You're talking in regards to the one in the middle, the wall, two-story wall.
Well, you can see in this picture, that is the first floor, existing first floor, and your arrow is right there on the new second floor going up. So if we're going to push it over for a foot, I don't think it's appropriate to push it over, on the ceiling, basically on the roof, to be able to differentiate.
But another idea that he suggested was maybe change material.
Yes,
So,
that would be great. I just wanted to clarify that.
the structural problem, that is an issue, right? So,
That makes sense.
is there anything else, sir? Okay, appreciate that.
So if we're continuing this, it would be to either the August 3rd meeting, or I don't have the September date, but for August 3rd, we would need everything from you by July 12th, by next Tuesday.
Is that possible?
The applicant is nodding, so
Put that in the minutes?
Our other option would be September 2nd. So
All right.
I make a motion to continue HPCA 16-00079 to the August 3rd meeting.
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham and second by Jeff Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, case is continued. Thank you. Next.
HPCA 16-00081 at 225 Northwest 24th Street, Jefferson Park, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application of Falcon Realty LLC by Adam Rayan for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace roof required, and 2, install flashing required. The commission has seen a very similar application at this property before that went through all of their continuances and was ultimately denied. The applicant is back with a new application for similar work items, but adding the installation of a metal flashing or cap over the top of the parapet wall. And I do have a material sample that I'll pass around.
Of the flashing? Yeah. Is the applicant present? There he is.
Good afternoon. Adam Rayan, Falcon Realty.
Okay. All right. Any questions to the applicant or comments?
Is this the same case that had the garage, the one story with it?
Yes, I believe the items with the garage had been addressed. Those were closed out.
So this is the material you would wrap over the top of the parapet?
Yes, and here is the color. That's going to be exactly the same color like the cement, the concrete. So
my opinion would be based on the guidelines too, is that just adding another material to cover a material that we've already discussed as being inappropriate would not be appropriate.
Doubly inappropriate. Moving in the wrong direction.
I don't think this would help solve the problem. Maybe you're thinking it would disguise the issue, but I'm still opposed to the method that was used to repair the roof and that ended up covering the historic material on the parapet.
I think it will solve the problem, at least cosmetically.
What?
It will solve the problem cosmetically. It will look like exactly like a concrete.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. I mean, I'm not in agreement with the original solution, and I think to disguise the original...
Which is the TPO, you mean?
Yes.
But as I know, the TPO is allowed to put in there.
It was, if you would have, I do believe if it would have been, an application would have been before us to approve wrapping the parapet, it would not have been approved according to the guidelines. We would be not going back with the type of roof material that was originally, the original roof material. And the roofing that you selected, because it wraps over the parapet, is covering the historic material of the roof. So you haven't gone back with the original way that they fixed the roof, they originally built the roof. So I don't think that if I don't believe that the way that you did it the first place, I don't think that follows the guidelines. I don't think it's a good idea to cover that with something else that is not the original material either. I think it's just going to look worse than it does right now.
Okay, but up to my knowledge that it is even allowed to put flashing even without putting a new roof or something, you still, if you want to put a kind of flashing to cover cracks or anything, it is allowed, and there are many buildings in there.
It's allowed. It's a method. I personally, I've seen a lot of old buildings, and I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen this method used. But you've told us that other people in the neighborhood have used it. But roofing, whether it's shingles or it's a asphalt roof or whatever, the guidelines recommend using the original method that. The original method or roof material that was used. This is not. This is a material that covers the roof, comes up over the parapet, and then you can see it from the street. I don't see how that roof solution is,
Actually,
follows the guidelines.
It is really hard to see it from the street, except at the back, at the north side, from the parking space between the neighbors and us.
It's on all four sides of the building on top of the parapet, or three sides, it's not on the rear.
That's why we are trying to put this kind of flashing to cover it. There are many buildings already covered by flashing without anything. I could bring you many
The flashing
buildings.
is
And the
not there.
TPO is there too for many buildings and even not being flashed in there. We are trying just to come back to the nature of the color and the look of the
I would have to disagree that metal flashing looks like concrete. Is that what you're trying to say, is that the metal flashing
So
will
how
make it
about
look
many
like?
buildings in there, they already put metal flashing. I don't know what kind of roof do they have. At the same spot, many buildings. I could bring you some if you want to.
Well,
And by the way, one of them is governmental building,
right.
a rehab center for like rehabilitation or something in Harvey and 26th Street.
Right.
Big building, and the whole building is flashed from the outside, even by a brown color metal flashing, not like a concrete at all.
That's my opinion, is that what you did originally doesn't follow the guidelines, and covering up that with another material that is not,
Fix it.
I don't think that would work either.
I agree with Commissioner Meacham.
Yeah, there are lots of different ways to put a flat roof on a building, lots of different materials you can use to to cover a flat roof. This one does not terminate on the backside of the parapet like a lot of them do. It comes over the top of the parapet, which is not appropriate historically. And putting a metal cap flashing on it is not fixing it. It's covering up, and it's not covering it up very well. Especially with all of the small curves, the curves in the parapet, the metal doesn't work. It looks bad.
Okay, so staff is recommending continuing this.
So this is the first hearing of this application.
Because this is a new application?
It's a new CA with the metal flashing added. Yep.
Staff has said that metal cap in conjunction with TPO roof may be appropriate. I think Commissioner Meacham's not agreeing with that.
I don't agree with that.
I hate to mislead if we think that's not,
What?
I want to mislead him if we think that's inappropriate.
That, as staff is saying that it may be
appropriate.
appropriate.
And
I disagree with staff. I don't think it is
To
appropriate.
clarify that, I think there are methods of installing a membrane roofing with a metal cap that is welded to and attached, and the cap is shaped and formed to cap the parapet. And I have to say, Angela's done a lot more research into all of these different methods than I have, but the cap as installed, I agree, does not correct the problem and doesn't look appropriate.
Isn't the original cap concrete? Yes.
It's a concrete, yeah.
That is the issue I have here, is the original cap is concrete. It needs to stay concrete, and the roof solution needs to address that by not covering the concrete cap. That is a characteristic, an important part of the building.
So it should terminate on the back side of the parapet.
Yes.
It is a brick at the top. Most of the top is the brick. A small little parapet, like about 3 inches high, is a concrete. But the rest is completely brick.
It's completely brick?
Yeah.
Okay, needs the, Angela was nodding, it's concrete.
This is just
I mean, that looks-
the outside, but all the inside covered is not a concrete. It is a brick.
What is that round?
This is the part that I'm telling you about, which is about like 3, we could say 4 inches.
Is that concrete?
Why? This is concrete, yeah.
But the rest of it's brick?
The rest to the inside, which is about a foot inside, it is brick.
But we're just talking about what's on top. What was originally on top of the cap?
Brick.
okay? Then it needs to come off and the brick needs to be revealed. And where there's concrete, it should be concrete. And where there was originally brick, it should be brick.
So what should I do?
Well, I would like to make a motion to deny you the roof. After the fact, it's a difficult situation. I'm in agreement with that. But it does not follow the guidelines.
If the TPO roof was terminated appropriately on the backside of the parapet, would that
Right.
be
As
acceptable?
long as the cap, original cap is,
It's not the roof, it's the cap.
it's the cap.
It's the lap over.
Right, I'm in agreement. I mean, there's many new methods since the 1920s and 30s to cover what we call a flat roof. We know it's not completely flat, but to cover the roof of a commercial type building like this one, multifamily in this case. There's many different methods, and they don't all involve this membrane being pulled across. And it's not just the look, I think, what we are concerned about. It's just that all of these attachments, that you've pulled this over and then you've attached it to the historic material. I'm thinking it's not the best long-term solution for that material, because now I'm not really sure how they've attached it, but they've screwed it or glued it or something.
It is a rigid membrane.
And every
It's not
time
soft.
they've done that, they've harmed the original brick, which to me, in the future, could possibly lead to further deterioration of the parapet.
The material itself is rigid. It is really hard to glue it or to stick it by any means, except rather than putting either flashing or some metal like this.
Those look like screws.
This is,
Are those-
excuse me?
What are the little round things?
Yeah, it is a fixer. I don't know actually technically what it is, but this is the only way. I have been there and checked. Many roofs been done the same way. They always, because the membrane itself is not soft. It is rigid.
Right.
It is rigid. So to glue it, it is
Right. I mean,
impossible.
I don't know how they do it, other than
Yeah, so
it
this
appears
is the
that
only way
they,
to do it. Just
appears that they
screw
screw it or-
put whatever. I don't know what
Right.
this kind of metal they put in there, but this is the only way to put it like that.
Right.
TPO by itself is one of the, I think, most
I
recent
understand.
technology and life warranty for the whole material, and is not, by the way, is not inexpensive. It is an expensive roof. And those who are doing it, they are not that much too. And the guy who did it, he's a professional licensed guy, and he showed me many of those roofs before we put this roof in there. He showed me how they put it and how it looks like. So, but we are trying, once you objected about that, we already covered something look like concrete, so we have to come back to the look of the historical concrete. It should be there. So that's
even
why
in
we
this one-
proposed.
this one picture is not helping, because it's not, it's showing like almost a hole that could be, that weather could get into or something. I mean, it's, anyway, unless anybody can.
Okay,
I'm
advise me what you want me to
move
do.
to
and-
deny. I'm going to make a motion to deny unless you want to come back with a totally new roof idea. That does not.
Totally what?
I feel inclined to make a motion to deny the replacing of the roof with this material. We can do a continuance if you want to come back with an idea on how to replace the roof without and remove.
Joe, is it the material of the roof or the parapet detail?
From all of our discussions, it sounds like the only way to.
That's not the only way.
Okay, well, that's what I thought has been explained. Is the only way to use this is to bring it over.
I don't think so. I just had a TPO roof
Okay.
put on my flat
That's
front
what
porch.
That's what
and
the
they-
applicant has told us in the
Well,
past.
I had a TPO roof put on my front porch, and they terminated it on the back side of the parapet. It doesn't come over the top. That would
Yeah,
look
that's
silly.
fine. I'm not saying remove that.
Right.
Yes, it is the part that comes over the parapet. I thought and the roofer was here one day also, and we asked him, I thought that they had told us that the way that they secured it was they had to pull it over.
That's not the only way.
Okay.
I think there are lots of different ways
I'm all for
to
that. As long.
deal with that membrane.
So you'd be good with item 1, but not 2?
No, the flashing is actually, he's asking for the flashing is an additional treatment where he's going to apply.
I'm looking at items for consideration. You're not, the roof is not what you're objecting to. It's item 2, which is the flashing and caps. Is that correct?
I think the two items are linked because I think the flashing ties into the way in which the roof has been replaced. I think the roof material conceptually as a product is fine, and we approve that for roof replacement. But
I just want to be clear about that.
I think the way it's
Right.
installed up and over.
Okay, I'm only saying that because I thought the roofer originally told us that that was the way that they installed it. We had a discussion in the very beginning when the roofer was here, and nobody's ever said, the roofer didn't say, well, we could take it off.
When we had that discussion, we asked them to go back and look at other ways,
Oh, okay.
and there are other ways.
Okay, I'm all for that.
And he did it. So-
Jeff, on your roof, would this type of flashing be put at the edge of the wall and the roof, so that like a chimney flashing?
No, they didn't in my case. I believe there's a termination bar, like the
Where's it
metal,
stop,
the
right?
aluminum strip that you see on the front side here.
Right.
Right.
Installed on the back side, and that's where that membrane stops at that termination bar on the back side of the parapet that you
So
can't.
it's at
and
the
there's no-
bottom of the wall?
Yeah, it's below. Right, you don't see
Yeah.
anything from the.
Okay.
Right.
It's below the top of the parapet. It goes
Right,
up
I'm
a
all for
ways.
that. Have you discussed doing that with your roofer? Could you take the material, pull it off, and put it on the back side of the
So
parapet?
instead of just overlapping the parapet, we just end like here, not overlap all the way out?
Right, you would only see it from the back side.
Okay, so we could just remove all this scene and end up here, not here. Is that what you
It
mean?
would terminate on the back side of the parapet. It wouldn't come over the top at all.
So it would not be
You would
visible
have-
from the street.
Your roofer needs
Or
to
the
look
front.
at that because it can be done. So,
I think to continue to August 3rd is probably not enough time for the applicant to continue research of these. We could continue to September 7th. Perhaps we can get some additional information about installation methods to the applicant from what we've heard today. I think we did have some responses from the roofer before about installing it the way that has been discussed here and concerns about the condition of the brick, but it may be that there needs to be some repair to the brick that goes along with that installation method.
That's what I would suggest, because even if you pull it to the back, then repair needs to be made to the parapet, I think. Maybe you're doing it because you're covering up the back and then you don't have to repair the brick on the back side, but
yeah, could be.
I'm all for the roof as long as it doesn't show on the front of the building.
Front of the building.
If I can't see it, we can't see it. If it's,
Here at the front, yeah.
this is the front, the
This is
front or
side,
the
this is the
sides,
side,
any
yeah.
front or sides,
Yeah, this is the front.
the front or the sides, or the back.
My point is, if we just go and eliminate this part that it's seen from the street, and then instead of fixing it at the outside, we just end at the top. Is that going to work? So you see nothing.
Not on the top,
You would still see
But
the
it's
back.
where it makes the curves up. You see the top of the parapet when it makes its curves up. Flip to a different picture. Keep going. There. Now, if it's sitting on top, then you see where it sweeps up. You would see that.
Right.
We don't want to
So-
see that.
It's got to be in the back.
Has to
we
be-
don't need to just
Has to be
put the whole
invisible
roof
to
there.
the front.
What is the solution for this?
Can we
And by the way,
continue-
there are many buildings and they're having the same. I
Could we
could bring
continue
you many
this and-
pictures for many properties up there having the same, exactly the same thing.
Could we continue this and
Yeah.
have staff send some suggested details on how
Sure.
it what might be acceptable?
Yeah, I think it might be easier for us to get some materials to you and to discuss further when we can sit and look at some information than to try to describe verbally what they mean and what we mean, if that's okay with you.
Whatever you feel, just let me know and I'm willing to do whatever you want.
Appreciate that.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I make a motion to continue HPCA 16-00081 to the September
I appreciate it. Thank you.
7th
Thank you.
meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Ann Zakowicz. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, case is continued. Thanks, sir.
HPCA 16-00083 at 2137 Northwest 28th, Shepherd, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application of Robert Shepard by John Ranke for certificate of appropriateness to 2, construct garage elective, and 3, install added paving elective. The commission reviewed this application at a previous meeting and requested that the applicant make some changes to the design of the proposed garage, particularly around the shape of the roof. And they've proposed some changes in response to that, so I believe staff has recommended approval.
Okay, is the applicant present? All right.
Meet again.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Could you sign in, please?
Yep.
Okay. Any comments? So what has changed is
We changed two things of significance. We shrunk the size to comply with the square footage requirement, and then we also reduced, we simplified the roof by a lot. So we basically took it down to where we still get the storage we need, but we present a fairly simplistic roof to the road. So that reduced our door requirements from the front from 2 single-car garage doors to one 16-footer. We don't have as many lights, so that's the primary things we changed, or actually the only things we changed. We also added an old HP thing where we are now actually doing the fencing that he had on an original or an older certificate, and that's going to be part of our scope of work, so we can get it done at the same time.
okay.
I make a motion to approve HPCA 16-00083 with the specific findings noted by staff in the staff report.
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Jeff Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you're approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for making the changes. We appreciate it.
Okay, next.
HPCA 16-00084 at 525 Northwest 41st Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Kelvin Tuckett and Christina Adkins Tuckett for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace siding and addition elective. We have documentation of this addition actually being approved by the commission back in 1983. It was approved to be built with wood siding, but was apparently built with masonite. Or at some point masonite was put on. The applicant would like to now replace that masonite with a new siding material. They've proposed a product that I think we have a sample of that is not a fiber cement product. The guidelines specifically call out fiber cement as appropriate for replacement siding on an addition. And this is not one of the products that had been identified as appropriate.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Christina Adkins Tuckett, a homeowner. I know that you guys have fiber cement as an approval, and this is a newer product. It's 60% crushed stone. So I had talked briefly with either Katie or Angela, one on the phone, about some of the concerns being sustainability and burning of the product. And I can submit additional information if you want. It's a 100% recyclable product. So that makes it sustainable. Sorry, I'm nervous. There's a lot of you guys up there. And I looked at some information, got a certificate of performance that I could also submit that talks about like the burn classification, no self-sustained burning, no self-ignition. I know, what is a polymer? It's a polymeric cladding. And when you think of that, you probably think more closely to vinyl is what a lot of people do, but it's not a vinyl siding. So when you think of polymers, just to kind of put in lay terms, what are polymers out in the world? Nylon is a polymer, or the Teflon in your pans that you cook with, that's a polymer. So it's not a vinyl, it's kind of its own thing. Thank you.
Thank you for the science lesson.
Thank you. It looks really, why did you, is there a reason that you would prefer this over the cement type products?
The cement type products, as you can see, the picture on the back of the house is next to a deck. And so we've been here 3 years, right about 3 years now. And so, I mean, the moisture. This product doesn't obtain moisture in less than 2%, take in moisture. They use it a lot in the Northeast. It's hurricane sufficient. Sorry about the piece of wood up there. There's a hole. You can see in one of the pictures, the siding just literally kind of just fell out. But one day we were looking at it, we were like, oh, that looks bad. And like 2 days later, it kind of started to fall apart. So we've got that up there while we try to get something approved. So I like that it's not as much maintenance as the fiber cement. The fiber cement's a ton of painting. This is, a seamless product. It is made to kind of look like a cedar clapboard. So I just like that it's less maintenance. We have wood on the house, on the dormers, and the garage is 100% wood. So that's a lot of maintenance for the house. So it's less maintenance. It doesn't absorb the moisture like the fiber cement does. A lot of people, the fiber cement are, it's buckling. You're seeing the seams, and that's not going to happen with this product.
Okay. Comments? Thank you. Unfortunately, it's not permitted by the
What does your research indicate?
What was that, Joe?
I just wondered what does staff's research indicate as far as?
So first, the guidelines about these kinds of materials are that synthetic siding materials such as vinyl and aluminum bear little resemblance to historic siding materials and are not sustainable. The application of such materials is not appropriate and will not be approved. So clearly, this specific product is not called out, but in general, when we start talking about polymers and that sort of thing, we've kind of categorized that as synthetic, and then that's 3.1.31. And then 3.1.34 talks about installation of fiber cement products being appropriate. I don't believe we have a lot of specific research beyond what the applicant has submitted as far as what the product is made of and contains. As she described, there's a crushed stone component to it, then bonded together.
But you would.
I don't think the guidelines allows for it.
You would determine this would be a synthetic material, which is not appropriate.
I think it's one of those where if we open up the gate to something else, I think a lot of research was done into trying to allow for different materials other than original materials, and that I think we have a category that's readily available and that we're all in agreement on for rare editions and for garages. So particularly when something's like a product that is a brand, and then somebody else comes in, and then it just seems like that it would be difficult to, it seems like it doesn't follow the guidelines. Doesn't fall within it's pretty clear. I think that they really made an effort when they redid the guidelines to make sure that we could easily say yes or no to materials that are not original.
Well, it's a synthetic material.
Right,
Which
that's what I'm
to me
saying.
be
So
clear,
it seems to fall in that category, so.
Right.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to play fun on this on the horseshoe, but when you think of polymers, you think of plastics, and it has a certain sheen to it and look to it that it starts to look plastic, and you start to go down that road of plastics and vinyls and those sorts of things that we definitely don't want to see.
Well, our staff scientists have a description of the material in here. Polymethyl, something or other. So it sounds like it falls in that category to me. Yeah.
Would you like to agree to change the material that you're suggesting?
Polymeric cladding, it's not a vinyl. It's a different thing. And it's coming around. It's mostly in the Northeast. You don't see it a lot here. I wouldn't call it a vinyl. I would call it its own thing. And I understand it's not in the guideline now, but maybe something you could consider in the future. Evaluating polymeric cladding, polymeric composite siding as an alternative to fiber cement. But if it's an absolute no, that's that's what it is, I will get people out to replace, probably with wood, possibly fiber cement, just kind of depending on how the contractors and whatnot go, because it's interesting dealing with contractors.
Do you-
Very much so.
Say it again.
So we could continue your application to September 7th, and in that interim, you could kind of research what products you want to use, and I think staff can approve either wood or fiber cement product. So that would give you that much more time, and then in between there, we can.
Can we just, if fiber cement and wood are approvable by staff, can I just, like, would I have to come to another meeting?
Right,
or is
no.
that just
So
something
we
you
would,
can
we
do
would
for me?
continue it to that future date, and then before that next meeting, you would contact staff to say, here's the product that we're going to use that does meet the guidelines, and we would administratively approve it, and then you wouldn't actually have to come back to that next meeting.
Okay, or could I just submit a whole new application and get a 2-week approval process? This is the product I wanted to go with, so I wanted to come to the formal meeting and give it a try.
Yeah.
But whatever, I mean, it needs to be fixed. So
Yeah,
whatever's
so
the fastest to get it fixed, and I can email you and call you.
Yeah, the fastest thing would just be to continue this one, and you're just basically revising what you've proposed to be an administratively approvable product. And we'll turn it around just like it was a new application for administrative approval.
You'll get your CA, if approved, before September. You'll get it
Yes.
right away.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was my main question.
That's what I thought you were thinking about.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And you don't have to come back and see us, theoretically. So, right.
I make a motion to continue HPCA 16-00084 to the September 7th meeting.
Your second?
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham and second by Ann Zacharitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item is continued. Thank you.
HPCA 16-00097 at 524 Northwest 19th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Brandon and Tally Atkinson by Todd Tramba for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage elective, 2, construct garage elective, and 3, replace driveway elective.
Okay.
I will just note on the staff report that I just caught this, that we, in the staff recommendation, there's a separate recommendation for the demolition and for the construction and driveway replacement, but the heading of recommendation number 2 still has all 3 items in it. And we just called out the demolition because we have different findings for demolitions.
Okay, Joe, do you want to talk about the demolition?
Take turns.
The applicant?
Yes, my name is Todd Tramba. Like it was said, I'm here on behalf of Brandon and Tally Atkinson. Basically, what they have here is they bought the house about 3 years ago, and I met with them a little over a year ago, and we kind of discussed the possibilities of possibly restoring the garages. I've restored quite a few of these garages. But just the more we looked at it and looked at the condition of it, you know, in my opinion, it's very dilapidated. There's not really any usable material left on the structure. There's virtually no footing that we could even build off of, so even if we did rebuild, I just think the possibility of the garage lasting any length of time, I just don't think it would last. So that's why they're asking that they get permission to remove it and build a structure that is similar, that is much safer, and cosmetically matches their house just a little bit better than what this one does with the flat roof.
So what kind of roof did the existing garage have?
Well, right now, it looks like it's a flat roof and it has an asphalt roof on it.
It was flat. It's collapsed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just for my own curiosity, for many clients ask this, and we think about it on demolition of garages, what percentage of a new garage would this be to remodel the existing garage?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
So if a new garage costs $100, how much would this one, what percentage of that would this cost to remodel the existing
Like if we
garage?
were going to repair this,
Yes.
Rebuild it.
it would be equal to the cost of a new garage, if not more. And like I said, and the quality of the finished product would be much less.
That's what I thought. Thanks.
So the new garage has a gabled roof,
Yes,
not a flat roof.
correct.
Okay.
The reason they kind of chose that is the neighboring garages also have gable roofs, and the house itself, the main structure, has a craftsman appearance, and so they kind of wanted to match that cosmetically. Have the barge rafters, the open soffit, the exposed rafter tails, so that the house just better matched. The garage better matched the house and the structure itself.
I'll make a motion to approve the demolition, item 1 on HPCA 16-00097, with the specific findings noted by staff. And I would say, we do have a professional here that has at least looked at the garage, gave us some more information. So I think that's a little different than not having the code enforcement officer not
Right,
present.
but no information.
With no
Correct.
information.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Jeff Parks. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Item 1 is approved. Demolition. On to 2 and 3.
There were quite a few findings from staff. Did you have any questions or? And then there was a condition. Were you in agreement with the condition?
In regards to putting the structure back with
Yes,
the
sir.
concrete and the styling of the...
Uh-huh.
Yes. I was in agreement.
In agreement?
And there was the condition about the door, amending the overhead garage door.
Have you submitted a new door?
In regards to the styling of the one that they had chose,
I think that's what it's talking about.
yeah, there was some discussion in regards to the garage door and the style that they'd actually chose. It is a wood garage door, but didn't necessarily match what was there. So I did meet with the homeowners, and we kind of discussed a simpler option that might look more like a standard style carriage door, and would probably match a little bit better to what they actually have. Circle right there. It's a lot more similar to what is actually there, less the windows.
Okay.
More of a panel type door.
Yeah, it's basically similar to what's there, less the windows, and it's very similar to the first design they chose. You're just getting rid of the angled accent boards that they had on that first design.
Oh.
And, they're willing, even if that's a little bit too busy, to simplify it further if it means getting it approved.
That one's pretty simple, just panels, rectangular panels.
And it is all cedar doors, so everything you see and touch when you walk up to it will be true cedar.
Okay.
I move to approve items 2 and 3 for HPCA 16-00097.
With all of the,
Oh, with the specific findings noted and the conditions noted by staff in the staff report. And the condition would be that you would, whatever your final decision for the garage door, that you'll submit it to staff for approval. Is that what you need, Heidi? Yes.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Jeff Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, approved.
Thank you.
HPCA 16-00101 at 2808 North Robinson Avenue, Jefferson Park, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application of Notch Properties by Joseph Barisi for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace front porch columns and balcony required, 2, replace back stairs and landings required, 3, construct canopy at second front entrance required, 4, remove driveway elective, 5, construct fence elective, and 6, install vinyl windows required. This is one where you can see that some of the work is already underway. The proposed porch replacement is replacing a previously existing non-historic porch. And there are numerous other work items that were non-historic that have been or are proposed to be replaced.
Is the applicant present? Okay.
How are you this afternoon? My name is Clint Caswell. I'll be speaking on behalf of this.
Your name is?
Clint Caswell.
His name's not on there.
Are you representing Notch Properties?
I am.
Are you an owner?
Yes, I'm partial owner of Notch Properties.
Okay, you're on there. We just have to make sure that you're listed.
Yes, sir.
Representing the case, so, okay. Continue.
I just kind of want to start by, this is one of our first projects that we have done together as a company. One of the first projects in a historical area. When we went to purchase the property, prior to buying it, we were told that this was in fact not historical and we did not need to go through the Historical Society. We continued through the sale. We started work, which included ordering custom windows. And then we were informed we do, in fact, have to go through the Historical Society.
You heard that from the real estate agent?
We actually called the Historical Society.
I heard yes back there, okay.
We actually called the Historical Society, and they basically said that this is non-contributing, that what we needed to do is go through with permits through the city.
So did you speak to the State Historic Preservation Office?
I think that was part of where maybe the mix-up was. And I wish I would have documented and known who I spoke to, because this is going to be a very costly error. But nonetheless, the work that's been started was not to offend, or it was more out of ignorance.
So you confused the State Historic Preservation Office with the City Historic Preservation.
And that's very possible. I mean, it was just told it's not historical, and
right.
This falls under the ordinance, not.
I have a question. You said that they directed you to go get a building permit. So did you go get a building?
They didn't direct a building permit. They just said that it would be any permits that we'd normally need through the city.
That what? I'm sorry.
Any permits that we would need through the city, electrical, plumbing,
right.
Building, if you change anything structurally on the interior.
So I guess my question was, and I called today, I couldn't get a hold of somebody, but do you need a building permit to do a balcony or a stairs? Are there no building permits required for those two items?
The back deck that we went ahead and took down, I mean, they're done very improper, very poorly, actually to the point to where they were causing
So I understand that. I'm saying, but do you need a building permit?
Sure, that's what I'm trying to get to. But if we're replacing or fixing an existing structure, then from my understanding, no, we would not need it on a deck.
For repair.
Do what?
For repair.
For repair, or, we essentially pretty much ended up having to replace a lot of it due to how bad in shape that it was.
Right. Replacement would be different.
And as far as the building permit, if that's something we need, if we need to go through the city and go ahead and pull a permit, have them do an inspection, that's proper. But once I was informed we need to go this route and go through you guys, we decided to kind of cease work on the exterior. We did recently just start the front deck as far as getting it kind of cased out and trying to make it look proper after we spoke with the architect on what would be more appropriate. And other than that, we've kind of put a hold once the windows and decks, and we found out we weren't supposed to be here. We just kind of stopped. Also, one of the things we found out, this is considered a non-contributing building, which from my understanding is there's no historical significance to this particular structure. I could be wrong on that, but that's kind of what I was told. I'm kind of hoping in certain areas maybe we can get some specific or special consideration, and as we go through these, I'm more than happy to answer what questions I can.
To speak to the contributing, non-contributing, when we look at areas that are a National Register district, they identify properties that are contributing to the district, and if a property has been altered, then they will call it out as non-contributing. But that is a snapshot in time, because the National Register is a tool for documentation. Because our zoning is a tool for not only documenting, but maintaining and improving the historic districts, even when we have a property that has been altered, we still review changes to that, and we encourage those changes to make it more compatible, not less compatible. So just because a porch column has been replaced or a vinyl window has been put in, that doesn't mean, okay, now it's free reign and we no longer are going to regulate that property. When we have some idea of what the historic appearance was, it's still going to go through that review process. There might be some more flexibility because maybe we don't know what was the original look, but the contributing, non-contributing isn't something that really applies to the city's historic preservation zoning process.
Yes, ma'am, that's why I'm here today, to
Yeah.
try to see what I can and can't do, what we need to fix, because we'd like to comply, we'd like to add to the area. I mean, this is going to be a beautiful piece of property, and we really think it'll help kind of revitalize things.
Is this, how many units is this?
This is going to be a 2-unit duplex. There's going to be 1 unit upstairs. There's going to be also a unit downstairs.
Okay, on the right there's 2 doors on the front. On the bottom, there's a lot of doors.
Yes, there is.
Does that one on the right, does it connect both floors?
The one on the right is going to actually go upstairs to the upstairs unit. The one on the left is going to be to the downstairs unit.
That's what it is right now.
Yes.
And the upstairs door is just...
That's just a little landing. When you open that door, it's just a little landing, and it goes to basically wood stairs that go up, come back around, and you kind of enter into your front room area from there.
Yeah, it's just it's like a front door, and you just go straight up steps, and then the front door is...
The one on the right.
The one on the
But
right.
the one on the
yeah.
top, that's just a balcony.
Oh, yeah.
The one on the top is, yes, it's just a balcony coming out to the porch.
So all of that construction is just for that balcony, almost.
That frame was put up. We actually recently kind of had it stripped down. If you look at the kind of the plans on, I think, item number 1, we've talked about casing the post with pine, going ahead and changing the railing to more of a historical style. And what we did is we looked at a couple homes in the area on what was appropriate. We also proposed to take out that middle beam since it kind of blocks the view.
Based on the...
Middle column?
Yes, the middle column, sorry.
I'll just note that based on the Sanborn maps, it looks like historically there was a one-story front porch that went the full width of the structure. And I think the second level was added later.
What we try to do is just keep the same size as what we took down, which was extremely unsafe and unstable.
Well, that front porch, especially as in the front, does not contribute to the house. I was wondering if there's a reason for it.
There is. Now, we did start. I think if you saw it now, it'd have a totally different look at it. I mean, it's just being cased out properly, and once it gets painted, I think it really will fit kind of the older style.
I mean, I see several problems. One is I agree with Katie that the Sanborn maps indicate that there was a full porch originally. So if we were looking at as this like a design, we would take that in consideration. And then I drove over there to look at it to make sure see exactly what it was. But it also seems like that the second would be that the width of the porch, the existing porch, that seems like that might have been an item to take into consideration if you were doing a new design, which I think this is. So between the two, I don't think, and then looking at the other, are the posts just going to be wood like that?
The posts are going to be 6x6s, but we have them currently wrapped in 1x pine material, which we'll be able to paint, get it sealed. That way it'll last.
What material is the staircase in the back?
The staircasing in the back is it's treated material on the back deck. Due to it being in the back, we're essentially hoping that we don't have to do too much extra to it. But that is a composite material. It's Trex.
What does that stair serve?
That's also a back. It goes to a back door to the
back
upstairs
door
unit.
for the upper unit?
Yes, sir.
And that's it? All that just for that?
Was there an original staircase there, or had it been?
What was there before was a metal staircase that was extremely steep. And we took that out, put the proper rise on it. That way it would be safe for someone to climb up and it wouldn't feel like you're climbing a mountain.
Was it not possible to put all of the steps behind the house? Don't they? Can't you see this? I mean, if you...
That's something that could easily be changed, just to put a landing and kind of turn them out.
Do you assume that the second floor door in the front was original to the dwelling?
I believe so. I mean, originally purchasing this, I wasn't necessarily so much thinking historical, and I'm pretty inexperienced with finding out what was original and what wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Due to the design of the house and the layout, I mean, it flows really well, and it seems from the inside that would be proper.
So a door to come out on top of the original front porch roof. It would be going to something, right?
Correct, to that patio to have a little sitting area.
On the door, it appeared that the door that's been installed on the balcony is larger than whatever was there before, because the soldier brick above the door has been removed.
I think it was there was some soffit some fascia that we had to replace, because due to the way that the windows previously were installed, a lot of water got in. There was a lot of rot. Water went down. So
what I'm saying is there's a row of brick that goes under maybe the fascia. There's not much. When you go to the door, it appears that standing in the street, it appears that because the door is taller, that the brick above that was removed. So did you all do that? Is that a new door? Did you have to?
I think it's actually smaller than the original. It would have been
taller.
Same size.
It looks like there's an infill piece there, and the door probably was full.
No, that's original. There's this row of brick that goes across, but when it comes to the door, the row of brick is gone because the casing on the door is taller
But
than
look
the
at
bottom
the
of the
head
soldier.
of the windows. There's no brick above the windows. I think
Yeah, right there.
I think that's just
I
a
took a
fascia
pic-
and should be a piece that would be capped off with
I
a
think-
painted
I think
pine or
it's-
material.
Right there. See, it's just a little bit higher than the soldier brick.
But there's no, the brick doesn't continue across the windows, is my point. The header's usually
Oh,
the
okay.
same. So I think they put like a 6/8 door in there.
Oh, well, maybe one way.
That was the
okay.
door same taller.
I see what you're
The door used to
saying.
be taller, I
I
think.
agree with you,
I
Alan.
think.
It just didn't look,
But whatever it is, it doesn't look right.
have you replaced were all of the windows replaced?
When we moved in, the downstairs windows were replaced with just the cheapest of the cheap. They actually, to make it work, they used windows with flanges, and they bought custom sizes or standard sizes. They put them on the outside of the brick, and what they try to do, and you can actually still see on some of those, that they put metal flanges above the openings in hopes to deter water, and then they just cased it out. That caused water to get in behind the
Right.
windows, and we had to repair a lot of the two exterior walls due to that. And that was one of the first things we did, is tear out the aftermarket windows downstairs so we could fix the issues. Upstairs, there were some sash windows, and some of them were the aftermarket. The sash windows, we actually really looked at trying to get the upstairs windows repaired. I think after about 6 people looked at them, they just all of them shook their head and said, we're not going to do anything with these.
After looking, have you read the guidelines since?
Since I've read the guidelines and I understand some of the issues that, that we see here, and essentially it really puts us in a tough situation because it's a very, very expensive mistake, and, we, without question, acted in good faith of calling, and though there was a little bit of a miscommunication of the different organizations that I need to speak with and go for, I mean, it's, at this point, I'm hoping that we can kind of work together and figure out what we can do to where, it doesn't bankrupt us, because some of this stuff is just really, really expensive, to kind of reverse. I think the decks, when they get, when they're done and they're painted and the proper railing is, and I meant to bring a picture today because they do look fantastic. We put the beadboard, the tongue.
I mean, that's another question. I mean, the pictures here don't show what you've done between the time that staff took the photographs and today. So
I do have a single picture of just the bottom portion on how it's kind of cased out.
no, I'm saying I saw them today, and I'm saying that the work is, that you did quite a bit of work after you submitted for your CA.
The front porch we did, just because we wanted to, I thought that was probably going to be the one thing we could go ahead and go. And we have continued work on the interior, and it's just, as we hold on to these, it's just one of those things. It's really expensive to hold on to these properties. It's a lot of cash being held out. And we had a crew come available that could kind of start on the porch, and due to them being available, we asked them to go ahead and continue just on the front porch.
I mean, you understand that we have to look at this project as if you did not do it, and that this is what you're proposing.
Sure. I mean, I'm here, to present to you. And like I said, if, the worst case scenario, if we can kind of just, even if there's something that we need to work, just continue it so we can figure out what we need to do and how we can correct it. And again, something that just won't totally tank us, because we do have a lot of money on the line in this particular property. We're willing to work and see what we can do.
It's a very difficult situation. Except for, it's my opinion that the design that you presented, it would be for the balcony, does not really follow the guidelines. It would be hard for us to, hard for me to approve that for me, looking at the guidelines. I don't really, we kind of have to have a reason when we do something completely different than that was there before. And I don't really, we have a Sanborn map that shows a full facade, and then we have other things in the neighborhood. I didn't really see anything. I didn't look at everything, but I didn't really see ideas from the neighborhood that were applied to that design. So for that reason, I'm not in agreement. I don't think that it follows the guidelines. The back stairs and the landing, the stairs coming out in front, not staying behind the rear elevation, I think I would want that at a minimum addressed.
Sure, we can absolutely address that.
And the windows, they're not allowed according to the guidelines. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So
I have a question for you on removed driveway. You're proposing just access from the back?
It would remove access from the back, and we have intentions of addressing the garage, which is extremely dilapidated, but we're going to get people out to kind of see what we can do, if it's going to be saved. And unfortunately, due to the heights, I don't ever foresee it being able to be used for a car. but it would have removed it. The pitch on that driveway it's very steep, and a basic car cannot pull up that without dragging their front bumper.
Again, the question is, you want to remove the driveway, build a new concrete area. I don't see that in the items, with access from the back, the alley only?
Yes, we'd hopefully be able to access from the back and park in the rear of the building.
So proposing taking out the driveway, but not, you haven't applied to build the concrete parking area? I
Is there a
realize the
site plan?
Yeah, it's on page 10.
10, oh,
I realize the garage is another issue, but I just wondered, if you take out the driveway, that kind of, I mean, that stair issue isn't quite as bad because there's no.
I mean, I thought the guidelines, we have to, leave driveways, don't we?
I don't know. Is that?
Yes, generally, if a driveway is historic and is part of the established pattern on a block, we have typically not approved removal of driveways. Sometimes we have places where a driveway's been added where there used to be alley access and now there's not, but.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put
Changes the rhythm of.
maybe if you didn't want people to use it, maybe you would
If we don't
propose
want
to
anyone
put a
use
gate
it,
or
it's
something.
steep
What?
enough to keep that from happening, because it really is.
Is there a picture that shows the?
Is it?
I do not think we turned in a picture of the driveway.
And we'll just note, I think it was mentioned in the staff report, that the site plan showing the paving in the back of the property does not show the garage that is existing, that's
Right.
in the photos.
Doesn't show it to be removed or anything.
So were you wanting to, you said you might fix it up, but how could they use the paving if it was still there? Are you saying it could be there? and
I
they
think that might have just been a mistake on our part. Right now, we want to remove it because we know it's very unstable, and but especially after seeing some other issues with garages, we definitely need to get someone in there to look at it and kind of weigh the cost benefit and if we want to replace it with anything. But as of right now, we just plan on kind of keeping it there and seeing what we can do with it.
So when you're talking about the driveway being steep, is it the embankment? Is that the part that's?
Yes, you've got the city's portion that goes onto it, and then it gets really steep going up that hill. If you see that that's on a hill.
Yeah, the that's typical of, the terrace.
And the driveway is actually kind of caved in the middle, too.
Okay, that's another issue. Okay. Just have to go slow. Oh, man. Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
See, on the Sanborn map, on page 3 of 22, it's noting at 2808 that the front porch is the whole north to south front of the home.
Goes all the way across, right?
All the way across, but in this picture,
It doesn't.
it doesn't.
No.
It stops like in the middle of the front big picture window.
Talk about the lower part of the porch.
The lower
not
part of the porch. So where would have the roof of that front porch have been? Would it have been just covering the front porch?
It didn't necessarily have a roof. It has a cover over the entrance on the right.
Right.
I'm not sure if it had a
Had a roof, may
all the
not
way
have had a roof.
across. It may have had another cover over the center door, for instance.
Well, the
Yeah.
Sanborn map is showing a roof across the entire front of the
Where's
house.
this?
How
Where's
do
it
we
say?
know it's a roof, Joe? Is that?
Because that's just the way that's,
It doesn't mean just porch.
it's a dotted line.
There's a dotted line and there's an X, which means that it was a shingle roof material. The X
okay.
indicates the roofing material.
Okay.
Oh, this, is
didn't
that
know
an
that.
X right there?
Yep, there's a little X on the
Oh,
porch
okay.
and a little X on the structure itself. So in 1950, both of them had presumably wood shingle roofs.
But the X is down on the end of it. Does that mean just a portion of it was covered, maybe? Or?
No, they just do the X in one spot
Oh, the
within that
rectangle, okay.
portion of the rectangle.
And that it was originally just one house, correct? Because there's not a dotted line down the middle.
The F means flats, so it would have
Okay,
been
so
one
it's-
unit.
it is what he's talking about, that
Because
it
it
has
was-
always been the two separate, okay.
And so there's also a 1 on the roof, meaning that the
One story?
roof was 1 story. So I'm not, I think that could have been, if you were presenting some design ideas for a porch, I think that, we don't have pictures of that. We don't really have historic pictures unless, you could find some. I mean, I think that there were probably several directions that you could go based on the porch itself that's poured is like the 3/4 to the right. It has some different kind of things going on. Then the porches in the neighborhood. I mean, since we don't know exactly what it was, I think that there could have been several things approved, several ideas approved. I don't know what they would be, but I'm just saying what you have, I think, doesn't go with to me, it doesn't go with what's done in the neighborhood, and it doesn't go with this, and it's halfway in the middle of the windows. That just doesn't seem like a natural place for a post either.
Yeah.
I mean,
Agree with it. It looks similar to what was there before, but it's not appropriate.
when you look at the brick, I mean, if you're just looking, you're not really seeing, where a porch may have been. I think staff said that maybe you all thought that the brick had been applied at a later date.
I believe it is because we actually had to repair some of the brick because the way that they had the previous porches built, they actually tore out a large section of brick and left it open and anchored it that way, which caused water issues. But underneath that, we did see some wooden lap siding. And also around the windows, when those were exposed, you could also see some kind of green lap siding behind it.
I mean, I'm in agreement that the brick doesn't look as old as its neighbors. I mean, the yellow brick was used later, but maybe in the 30s. I mean, it could have been built, it could have been bricked fairly quickly after 10 or, I don't know. Maybe at that time, but you said what year was the roof on there in the Sanborn?
So the earliest Sanborn that shows the building is 1949, and then we skip all the way back to 1922, and there's nothing on this block at all. So yeah, between 22 and 49, they could have changed the cladding material. They could have made some other alterations.
Well, what do we do?
I mean, if this was on paper and not built, I mean, I think that we would be asking for many changes, including just saying that vinyl windows are not allowed.
Right.
What do we do about that?
It's tough. I mean, it was just a miscommunication issue. And I don't really know. That's kind of why I'm here, hoping for advice, what we can do, and hopefully together we can kind of get things worked out, and that way we can get this thing finished and looking good.
So should we continue the whole thing? Work with staff on...
I make a motion to continue, but I think that you're going to have to come back with items that follow the guidelines.
Okay. And I'm sure with research and a little bit more time, we can probably figure out.
So including windows.
It's not going to be...
I don't think it's going to be easy or, like you say,
Okay, was that a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue. You don't want just a week, you want the longer period, or you want a week?
We may need a little bit longer to work through and do some research and find out what's there. Again, this is our first time through this kind of process.
If it was a month, you'd have to have a Tuesday, which is just a few days.
So the next meeting would be September 7th then? Is that what your agreement
Yes,
for?
we can.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to continue HPCA 16-00101 to the September 7th meeting.
Is there a second?
What?
Findings is the staff report.
I think we don't usually specify them for the continuance. It's
Right.
The standard finding. Yes.
Oh, standard findings. Okay.
Okay. Is that clear? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Joe Meacham, second by Ann Zakowicz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, item's continued. Thank you.
Thank you.
HPCA 16-00102 at 2603 North Dewey Avenue, SAO Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application of Lee Ann Smith by David Remy for certificate of appropriateness to one split lot elective.
Okay. Applicant is present.
I am.
So both these new lots, as proposed, meet the minimum lot size. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay.
Have you talked to the neighbors? Is there...
I have talked to some of the neighbors and haven't received any negative feedback from the ones that I've talked to. The thought behind it is if you look at the, I think there's a picture from the county assessor site. The southwest corner of Dewey and 25th has a house facing Dewey and then a duplex facing north and Edward Street. And so we haven't designed anything yet on the property. Wanted to see what the developable potential is first. Thought process was to take that 80-foot setback, or 80-foot property line, and just continue that across to the north, because right now that 140 feet seems kind of long. Seems like almost there's a missing tooth. So trying to make it a little bit more pedestrian friendly going on 25th.
It's kind of an unusual little panhandle on the pooches out to the north there too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very odd. It's the back 30 feet.
Right, right.
Albion place.
Would there be room for garages?
Depends. I'm sure it can be designed in. I haven't explored that yet. My initial thought was that 30-foot kind of panhandle back there would be a good opportunity for that. I think the sandboard maps show that there was and there actually is a footing there still, that there was a structure back in that corner.
Katie, did you all have any additional comments? I mean, you suggested approve or continue.
Yes, sorry, I don't do that too often. I was being a little bit wishy-washy. You know, there's some things in the guidelines that pretty clearly say, like in particular, that the width of the lot should be no less than 90% of the average lots on the block and no more than 110%. And this 60-foot portion exceeds that. But when we look at the lot at the corner, that obviously keeps the same width that it already has. It just loses some backyard. Looking at the pattern of the kind of surrounding blocks, it seemed like this was not a completely unusual configuration where the lots have been split up and you've got a cross street, side street, facing properties close together. So I think to the point of adding density and filling in what otherwise would be a big, deep backyard with no structures on it potentially, this would assist with that. It does create some small lots, though, where it would be difficult to have your typical layout of backyard, garage, that sort of thing. It is that each lot is exceeds the minimum for what a lot can be. So they're above that requirement. And then because they are
Which is 5,000 square feet?
Yes. And unless I'm getting this one confused with another one, this is also neighborhood conservation district. So there's no side yard setbacks required. You just have to be 10 feet off a neighboring structure. So they could build closer to the property line than we can in some of our other areas.
That kind of hints at the possibility of a little bit greater density in that neighborhood conservation.
Yes.
The other thing that affects the corner lot, that there are, I believe, two setbacks, which really limits the buildable area on that corner, so a little more size, makes sense if it's going to be split.
Our guidelines also talk about, though, respecting the setback of the adjacent structures too, though, right, and not.
Right, well, the building line would do that.
Right, that would the corner,
Well, that's a good point. That looks like the building line is further
right?
out
from the actual.
Depending on which side of the 25th Street you are on.
I'm looking at Dewey, on Dewey.
Along Dewey, but south of 25th, the houses are closer to Dewey than they are
right.
north of 25th.
That's right. They're further back.
So would the houses front onto 25th?
I don't know yet.
Because you see what we're saying, if the front face Dewey and the front door of 2607 Dewey, if that house was back, then that house would have, that front door generally would have to line up.
Well, the west lot would have to front on 25th. East lot could go either way.
But it'd be smaller. I mean, isn't that what you're pointing out,
Yes,
Greg?
yeah.
That
The
would
the buildable area of the corner lot might not be as big as what you've anticipated because the other houses on that side of 25th are farther away from Dewey.
Right, it depends on what street wall you're going to go off of the corner to the south.
Right, we don't have that
The ones
situation.
On the block, yeah.
Right.
Your yellow line you call a street wall, it really looks like the setback line. And the street wall would be where the houses are, actually, which is
Well,
further
neighborhood
back.
conservation has a 25 square foot setback, so I don't know what that means.
25 square feet?
Yes. So,
That makes no sense.
so what I've gone by in other project, and then this is where where the existing structures are, seem to be more what you all go by more than the 25 square feet setback.
Maybe lineal feet, but your diagram shows it further out than the existing along Dewey,
Yeah,
which is what you.
the diagram is picking up the street wall of existing structures, not the
yellow line
setback.
Okay. Doesn't look like that.
I think generally speaking, I don't have an issue with, it's kind of a big lot among some other smaller lots. I don't really have a problem with splitting the lot and the increased density. I think that what exactly your buildable area is might need some further study to make sure that you can get a house in there that works, that respects the adjacent properties. It doesn't pooch so far out that it messes up the rhythm of the historic street.
Sure.
Right, that's what I see after you pointed it out, that if the fronts were on Dewey, then that, what the diagram is showing is that it would have to be further back.
Set back.
If you're using the houses to the north as that data.
Right.
Correct. Okay. And that seems to be the preference, not the houses to the south.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay. I make a motion to approve HPCA 1600102 with
Okay.
with the specific findings noted by staff and the unique circumstance that the lot configuration has already been altered, and though it will exceed 10% of the average width along the cross street, will be in keeping with the similar lot's configuration in the immediate vicinity, and will retain the existing block face along the side street.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Jeff Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, been approved.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see the...
I will just note that for everyone's understanding that, so we've given a CA for him to move forward with the lot split, but similar to getting a building permit, there's another step to that. So the lot is not now and forever permanently split at this moment. If they go and do some more homework and figure out we're not going to be able to build what we want to build, they can leave the lot as is.
Say the last part?
If they were to go and do some more homework on the buildable area and feel like they didn't want to move forward with that, the lot would remain
They don't have
as
to go
it current-
forward, yeah.
There's more process with the city to formally split a lot, but
If
this
they-
gives our blessing on
Yes.
such a
If
split.
they proceed, does it go to planning? Where's it go next?
Yep, current zoning.
Current zoning. Okay. Thank you. Next. A break? 4 o'clock. How about till, is 4:15 okay, or is it about 8 minutes or longer? 5 minutes. Well, let's say 4:15. That's easy. Okay, we're back in order. Let's go to the next case. Katie?
HPCA 16-00103 at 311 Northwest 22nd Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Brian W. Carey by Bill Carey for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct garage elective, 2, replace wood and composition roof elective, 3, construct brick planter boxes elective, 4, remove and replace driveway elective, 5, remove and replace sidewalks elective, 6, construct backyard fence elective, 7, construct back deck elective, 8, install new rear opening with double doors elective, 9, coat foundation stem wall elective, and 10, close opening on rear of house elective.
Okay, applicant present.
Let me sign in. Yes, my name is Bill Carey. This is an interesting project that my son and I are doing for him to live in. I've been in Heritage Hills and Mesta Park since 1974, so I've been around this a long time. First time I've ever had to apply for a CA, though. Give you a little background on the house. It had been vacant since 2010. Went into foreclosure. Owner went into bankruptcy. So I sought out the owner, and he didn't think he owned it. Chase didn't think they had a foreclosure going on it, so it took a couple of years to convince both, and finally got it done. Anyway, we think it's more of a restoration project than a remodeling project or renovation, and we're going about it that way with some updates, of course. Should we just go through each item, or as listed?
Let's see if anybody has any questions first. Or comments. Just going to go through the items, okay? Why don't you go ahead then, kind of explain your project.
The garage, we've tried to toe the line to the guidelines. A little undecided on what the garage door is going to look like, but we submitted as a either a metal or a fiberglass door with composite material on the outside, be plain and painted. The siding is the HardieBacker board, and the roof will be intended to match as close as we can with the siding on the house. It'll be, of course, painted to match the house. The roof's the same as the house. So it's pretty straightforward. I think we've actually located it further back than the original garage was. When we bought the house, the only roof that really was on the house was a blue tarp, so we went right straight ahead and stripped off the wood and the composition and put new decking, of course. An architecturally approved style roof. The brick planter boxes are really just kind of a cosmetic deal that we'd like to do, but I've told staff that we'd keep it to 15 inches. I think that'll look just as good, and is very common in the neighborhoods. Remove and replace the driveway. We'll go back, and most of its exact location in the front. It goes back farther in the rear to get to that garage, and we'll try to match the color of the common sidewalk out front in both that and the sidewalks. Now, this sidewalk is pretty interesting. No doubt, given its condition, that it is original. It is oval. It's kind of an oval, but we'd like to go back. I think it's kind of a neat feature, and we think it's historical. There are other examples of it in the neighborhood. 16th and Walker, northeast corner for one. And so we'd like to go back with it in the same place. House was built in 1919. You don't get any more historical than that. The 6-foot backyard fence, just a common straight top fence. The only really significant change we're making is in the rear. There are 3, you can see it, space for 3 windows right there. We pulled the windows out, want to do double French doors that match the other doors in the house onto a 12 by 20 deck. We're going to use the same treated wood for the deck and stain it and the fence the same color, a cedar tone, common color. The foundation on this house is one of its major defects. It's just horrible. It does have a basement, so we were able to get at it. And it made this house as close to a tear-down candidate as there probably exists. The stem wall is brick, and it was covered. It is still covered with a masonry or cement product that was there and deteriorated quite a bit. So, sought out recommendations from a couple of foundation companies, and they recommended this quick wall material that DeLisi sells, made by Quickcrete Company, and it's a fiberglass resin mixed material that goes on wet and is intended to keep further moisture from going through the stem wall, as well as increasing the strength of the wall itself, the stem wall. I think it'll preserve the stem wall significantly. And of course, the other side, the inside of the brick stem wall is still open, unsurfaced. So there's a route for any moisture that does get in to get out, and for it to dry out from that side. Number 10, the inside stairway has a landing. It turns upstairs, of course, as so many of them do, but for some strange reason there was a door there. That was not a window opening, that was a door, and it didn't go to anywhere. So we just taken it out and gone back with the siding. It's redwood siding, and we've been able to use it. We found it, we're using it. It's expensive, but it's don't have to do too much. But that's what we've done on the side of the French doors, and up there to the left is where that door is. There used to be a door. So we have filled it with 3/4 inch plywood, which replaced the 3/4 inch 1x10, and then of course followed that up with the 6-inch bevel siding. So I'd like to see you approve all 10 of them, and let me go about my work.
There were lots of comments from staff. Were you in disagreement with some of them, in agreement, or?
No, I can get along with all that stuff. I think I've submitted a lot of it since or last week. Did I not, Katie? Some of the information you'd asked for?
Yes, we got some new information in, and I think you have that at all of your seats.
Oh, that's in.
Oh, here.
Yep, that's,
Yeah.
So on the, staff had recommended just approval with no conditions at all for the roof, the fence, well, for the roof and the fence. On the garage, the only conditions were for some additional details on siding and on the garage doors. I believe this had some additional information about the garage doors. And we had some email dilemmas, so the applicant got our comments very late and then scrambled to get some responses back to us. But I think if, regardless of what this says about the garage doors, if the applicant is comfortable with what the conditions recommend for those, we can work through the documentation needed for that piece of it.
What about the sidewalk locations?
Staff didn't feel like that sidewalk location was typical. We don't see layouts like that very often. It does look very old, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's original, but that doesn't mean that the commission can't be convinced otherwise.
But I mean, if it's already there, can't they repair or replace an existing sidewalk?
So it kind of comes to that threshold of once you're replacing more than 50%, then you need to bring it into compliance with the guidelines, and if it's not historic and not appropriate, then you would not put it back as it is.
I mean, I would say that
On the circular sidewalk, the finding says the proposed sidewalk does not match the shape and location of the existing sidewalk. But isn't it going in the same place?
Are you proposing to put the sidewalk back where the circular sidewalk is now?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Same
think
place.
if we don't have proof that it was a different sidewalk,
Right.
then,
Yeah.
I mean, I would go with,
It's different.
I mean,
Not unusual, but
It is unusual, but there is one at 16th and Walker, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
with a very similar. Yep.
I'm like, hey, I've seen them kind of weird, where we looked at another one that was, kind of went
Yeah.
out and went both.
Right.
Okay. What about the plant, I mean,
planter?
are you good with the planters now that, with the change, 15 inches with the drain hole?
So the applicant did propose to lower the height of it, which was part of why, there's a height limitation that below which we can administratively approve. However, our biggest concern was just with the condition of the foundation, that it appears to be in very rough shape, and to put planter boxes right up against that where you're going to have dirt and water and plants right against the foundation. We just wanted to ensure that that stem wall is adequately protected and repaired, and not just cosmetically, but physically repaired.
It seems like a lot of additional potential stress to place on something that's pretty fragile.
Right.
Yes.
Well, if it's repaired and it's coated with this quick wall material and sealed, which I'm not familiar with, that might do the trick, but I just don't know anything about that material.
Okay, I had another question on the deck. I'm not really sure what you were saying the deck was too tall? The new proposal, or the response is, it's 69 inches to the top of the rail. I guess I just didn't understand staff's comments. Right, but I didn't understand that first comment from staff, the 6-foot deck.
Oh, so if a deck is less than 6 feet high and not visible from the street and does not require a permit, then it doesn't require a CA.
Okay.
So if it was under that 6-foot limit, then it changes the level of review that's required.
I see. So at 69 inches, is it under?
That's square feet.
Yep.
Okay. That to code with the rail?
Yes, I believe so.
Code is 36 inches, is that right, for the rail?
Yes.
Okay, and then all the doors are approved? I mean, the door, the rear opening, the fiberglass clad wood composite?
Some additional product information was submitted for that proposed door that is a smooth, flush glazed fiberglass door. Not a very detailed image of the actual appearance of the door. I don't know if Angela's done any more.
So, Angela, after after the additional submittal, do you have other conditions that you would like to attach to the?
I do have some concerns
Okay.
because the drawings for the doors on the back of the house are divided light, whereas the documentation that we've received for the doors from the company are not divided at all. So I have no idea if those are
Okay, so you
simulated divided light or whether or not that is of a concern to the commission.
Okay, so final detailed doors need to be submitted. Other than that,
I can state that they're divided lights, and they're 15 light doors.
are we requiring, on that type of door, would we require true divided lights?
That would be entirely up to the commission.
Because it's on the rear?
It's a new door.
It's in keeping with the front door, which is 15 divided light.
I believe on rear doors, we have sometimes
Single-
approved
single-
products that had like the integral divided light configuration, but not the like plastic grills or between the glass grids. So we would just want more detail on.
Okay. Other than, okay,
divided
so
light.
I think they just want a specification, information on the back door. Is that, all other things have been addressed? It's kind of long and complicated. I make a motion to approve HPCA 1600103, items 1 through 10, with, let's see, combining the, I don't know how to do this one, because if they've addressed all of the conditions, then we would include the conditions.
I would say leave the conditions as in the staff report because it's information that came in after the fact, and then that'll be some additional follow-up. And then we might want to do a separate motion for the things where we had recommended a continuance, just to clarify
Okay, well, you
those.
only recommended 6 and 7. No, or, well, you do it fun. Okay, 2,
3 and 9.
2, 6, and 1. And 4. Is that right? 2, 6, 1. Those are the ones you approved, items 1, 2, 4, and 6? Yep. Okay, my first motion would include items 1, 2, 4, and 6 with the conditions, with the findings and conditions including in the staff recommendations.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Heather Clemmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Those items are approved with
Okay, and then Katie, you're
conditions.
suggesting,
So that keeps care of staff recommendation 1 and 2, 1, 2, and 3, and then we had recommended continuance on item 3, brick planter boxes, item 9, the coating the foundation stem
Right.
walls.
4, 5, and 10. So,
And that very last one, it should actually say 8, 5, and 10, not 4. That's a typo.
8, 5, and 10, okay. Okay, and so we want to make a motion to approve items 3 and 9.
You mean continue? Oh, approved, okay, sorry.
With the specific findings. Okay, so how am I going to address the specific findings that we are not in agreement on, I guess, in some ways? Okay, like item 1, you say that they may be detrimental. Are we agreeing that we're...
Which one?
Under the, in regards to the foundation walls and the coating it with the quick wall surface bonding cement, staff says it may be detrimental to the historic fabric in the specific findings. I guess it's...
So that's, if you all feel like you disagree with that, then...
Well, I may have some experience with regards to this. Is there a basement, Bill, in this?
Yes.
There is a basement. You may not remember this, but I purchased our home from your sister. She did an absolutely fabulous job on sealing her basement, my basement, with a complete perimeter trenching, French drains, and she had put builder's clay on the outside of those outside the stem wall. We have never, in 23 years, had a drop of water in the basement. What is quick wall surface bonding? Is that the newer version of builder's clay?
Well,
It's just a coating.
It may be. It's pretty high dollar. Fiberglass and resin material. I submitted a spec sheet.
It's a coating that, they
Very
put on
thick, very
basements so that
You don't, no water can.
no water can penetrate.
Well, I've never had any problem, I can tell you, with whatever builder's clay is. So if this is a more,
I'm just-
there's a modern version of that, and I don't know whether
not
this is
the same.
And we're not taking anything other than more of a condensation inside after.
I'm just not sure how, I'm trying to make a motion, but do you want me to just name my own findings? Okay.
I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think it would actually improve the stem wall and strengthened it and
Right.
prevented the moisture.
Okay, so my motion for items 3 and 9 with the specific, with the specific finding that elevation drawings to scale and fully dimensioned are required.
Even after I've reduced the height to 15 inches?
Generally, yes, if you're building, even if it's just a low wall, we want to see
what it's going to
at
look
least
like.
a simple drawing of what the actual appearance of the wall is going to be. Something that can be included in the CA, that can be provided to the inspector to check it and verify that what was built matches what was approved.
Right. That the deck be limited to 69 inches as submitted by the applicant.
Was that 59?
69, I thought it's what it said.
That was less than 6 feet, so
Well,
59 inches.
he says that would be 5 feet. 69 inches. So, yeah. Don't confuse me, Rita. Okay, so with the specific findings for the elevation drawings to scale and fully dimensioned, that the deck is no taller than 69 as submitted by the applicant, that the proposed design and material of the deck is consistent with the guidelines, and that's it.
Did you get in the part about the 15 inches on the planter box? I didn't hear it. I might have missed it.
Okay, yeah, and number 3, that the height of the planter boxes will be limited to 15 inches. That will be also noted on those drawings. Okay, I
Did we
think
get number
that's it.
5 in there, the sidewalk?
Sorry?
Did you get number 5, the sidewalk?
Well, I'm not on the sidewalk yet. I don't think, unless I can put all of those in one.
If you want to.
Okay.
Don't ask me to repeat this back.
Okay, well, they didn't put that there. And 7. Another 9.
Sorry.
Okay, and in regards to items 8, 5, and 10, with what? I'm sorry.
I think she's adding them to do them all in one motion.
I just asked her if I could. No, you don't want me to?
She said you could, let's go with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to confuse it anymore.
Okay, and in regards to items 8, 5, and 10, let's see, that the proposed sidewalk paving color and finish match the aged appearance of the existing or abutting pavement, that all documentation for infill material, the doors and trim, including materials and dimensions for the proposed patio door location, be submitted. And okay, you've already done this, but either in writing or in a drawing, that the materials and documentation of the method of infill be provided for the closure of the existing opening on the rear of the house, which would be the door.
I hate to confuse things, but some of those are conditions, not findings.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you comfortable?
I'm reading them off the findings.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, okay.
I mean, we can label appropriately.
Label them either conditions or findings.
Okay.
Could you repeat that?
We'll have it back for you in about 3 weeks.
But in general, which items are we talking about now?
3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. Anybody feel comfortable seconding?
Second.
Okay. Moved by Joe Meacham, and seconded by Greg Eddington. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.
That means all 10 are approved with conditions, with some conditions, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I think most of them you've already agreed to
Yes,
in your letter. I don't know if there, I think the only additional things were a little bit of documentation and the drawings. And, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right,
And
next.
we will send a courtesy notice that will have that written out for the applicant, saying what else needs to be submitted. Okay.
Next case.
HPCA 16-00105 at 3200 North Walker Avenue, Edgemere Park, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application of Oklahoma City Public School Board of Education by Jack Joyner of JHBR Architecture for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct safe room gymnasium with covered walkway, elective.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. So we were here at the previous meeting and did a presentation, I guess, for informational purposes only. So last time we went through the presentation, so we made a few changes. We got questions from Katie, so we answered those questions. So we're just looking for approval for this project to move forward. So here to answer questions.
So what kind of interactions you have with the neighborhood?
First, we worked with the staff of the school. And in that, we looked at site conditions, best placement of the gymnasium, storm shelter, in regards to several things. Respect to our budget, we didn't want to relocate site utilities or parking lots that we didn't have to. We also looked at student safety, so we paid particular attention to not providing dead spots on the site that couldn't be visible by staff. So we did meet with principals, got the recommendations, and that's how we came up with the final site placement. We then went to committee, neighborhood committees, and then talked to them about the same thing. Here's where we want to place this. We just want to let you know ahead of time this is where we're thinking. We got very positive feedback in the meetings, and so we kind of stayed with our original plan of where we'd situated the buildings.
What kind of comments or modifications did you make based on the neighborhood input?
Like I said, we had very positive at the meetings. We didn't have any objections, so we basically left them right where we had them.
Well, I was thinking about the architecture. Seems like
I'm sorry, the look?
Yeah.
Yes, there was questions about lighting, the brick, color of windows, color of doors, and I think we've since answered those questions. We had a question about the amount of color. Of course, it's elementary schools, so we were trying to incorporate some color. We since backed off that. Canopies, doors, anything will be a dark bronze color to match the surroundings. So we're trying to pay respect to the buildings that are there, not introduce new materials. All materials are existing. Trying to respect setbacks. There's no buildings that set back any further than what's existing around the site.
Okay. Any questions? I think there's some others that'd like to comment.
On the, what is the percentage cost higher to make it a safe room? Just curiosities.
You know, I don't know that I have an accurate estimate on that.
50% more?
Probably this entire structure is storm shelter, so the entire envelope is. So
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I had a wonderful tour of this school with realtors about 2 years ago. The staff and the renovations they'd already made to the interior were fabulous. Great staff, great kids. It's a wonderful school.
Did you say that something was dark bronze? What is dark bronze?
Yeah, so we had questions about colors of exterior doors. So they're just storm doors. They don't have vision panels in them. They're not storefronts. They have to be steel doors. We have canopies, some stoops over some doors. We have canopies that aren't connected to the new school or the existing school and the new additions. They're freestanding. We'll also have those in a bronze color.
The drawings that you have show them in a lighter color, and they provided written information to staff later saying that that was going to be revised, but we don't have revised drawings showing that. It does describe it in the staff report.
Yeah, so we're in a unique situation that typically when we come to this level, we would have final design documents. Unfortunately, because of our owner, we're in a schematic design development phase, so we're trying to get approval prior to finish final documents. We don't want to, our owner doesn't want us to go all the way through, get final documents, and then get comments and have to backtrack and redesign. You guys are familiar with the process.
So the white, what's shown as white metal in the rendering will be bronze?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to get to do the color that we wanted to do. We're not going to get to do the color that we wanted to do. We're conceding on that one. So what we
Who was
agreed
in-
upon
on the color, who was, the neighborhood didn't want the color, or the,
I'm not clear what you're proposing. Bronze?
because you wanted more color, but I guess I still don't understand how you got to the bronze, just
I guess we
curiosity.
did have some comments from staff about color. Please clarify colors. And we anticipated that that was coming from the fact that maybe it's too much for this neighborhood. Elementary schools, we like to infuse color. The kids are stimulated by that. It's
I
creative.
don't see a problem there, but.
So you're going to use color? I don't remember color. This shows it white. In the existing school, all the metal is bronze, the windows.
I mean, you're saying that you would like to do maybe orange and blue or green or something like that, and
Oh, I
you're
see.
feeling like your feedback is getting you to go to the bronze.
Correct, and we're okay with that.
Okay,
I mean,
we're okay with that.
I just want to, I want to clarify, is that feedback that you felt like you were getting from me or from the neighborhood?
Yeah, I guess maybe I was reading too much into that. But
Okay,
that's
I just wanted a specific color.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that I had strong objections
I mean,
as
to me,
staff to the white.
if it was metal and it was a school, and I mean, it's just paint, I mean, I wouldn't care what color.
Well,
I mean, if
but
it wanted to be bright colors, that's,
The canopy's
what I-
going to be, the canopy's going to be a pre-finished.
A what?
The canopy will be a pre-finished
Right.
metal, though.
Right.
So it's not something you can just go in and
Right.
paint at
right.
your
I
window.
guess, I don't, I mean,
I think green and white are okay. Rainbow stripes of different
Not
colors on
rainbow
the canopy.
stripes, no,
Or bright blue, I think that there are.
maybe there's a
things that
school
go too
color
far.
or something. I mean, I don't know, I guess I just
I
reject, it's not, that's not a problem.
It's coming back to me now. I did have owner comments. They didn't want it to stand out. Other schools, this is a citywide program, so they've done multiple gyms, and I guess our design was more aggressive than most, so they kind of had us peel back a little bit. So that's where some of those comments
So
came
it's
from.
proposed to be bronze.
Right. I have another comment, and it's just in regards to historic school buildings, in that the side of them where you can't have windows, that really there is a traditional design for where windows don't go on big gyms, but they don't ever make it look like a window. They just do a panel, like a, brick. They don't make it like, oh, that used to be a window and now there's no windows. It's just a decorative panel, just a square of brick or something. And that's my only, it just looks like that people would say, I wonder if there used to be windows there, which I think is a weird comment. I mean, would be a weird thought. So that's why I think just a panel is in my, I mean, and there's, if you go look at like the old gyms and stuff in town where there can't be windows, they don't make it look like there used to be a window there. They do a decorative square or something of
Yeah,
that
and that's-
contrasting bricks.
and that's
That's my
something-
only comment.
And yeah, we can evaluate that, but I think we did have previous comments about how can we break up that phase.
Right. I understand that. That's all.
Okay, so we have some folks here from the neighborhood, I think, wanted to say a few things.
Do I need to sign in?
Yeah, you need to sign in and...
I'm Nicole Bondurant, and I'm a new homeowner. I just purchased a home on Hudson, just directly in front of the new proposed gymnasium. I also have a duplex that faces a school on 32nd in Hudson, 32nd and Hudson there. And so I really think that this new structure that's being proposed really directly influences some decisions that I need to make on either keeping the property, since it's a huge investment of my own. And I would like to ask for a continuance, a 60 to 90-day continuance, so that I might have time to talk to our neighborhood association and have a neighborhood meeting about this. When I talked to some neighbors earlier this week, several of us are remodeling our houses, trying to sell the houses on the street. live in the houses. Hudson typically has been a really, has had older neighbors, and so we've got a lot of new people moving into the neighborhood there and remodeling the houses. And this really is going to influence the price that people will be able to get from the houses and their investment. So I just would like to have a little more information about some of the things that they're proposing. There are a lot of questions that I've tried to ask, but I only got the information on Thursday, and then it was a holiday weekend, so I couldn't talk to a lot of the people on the board, which I would like to do, and also have a neighborhood meeting with the people on 32nd and Hudson, so that maybe we could give you some more opinions that we might have. So that's why I'm here today.
What particularly do you object to? The placement?
Well,
the placement?
Maybe the placement. I'm not opposed to the gymnasium by any means. We love our school neighborhood. Our neighborhood has put a lot of time and effort into Edgemere, so I'm definitely not opposed to that. I would just like to see some more information about it, where the AC units are, just things that I was thinking off the top of my head we don't have the information for yet. And I'd like to see that, and just some other general information about the placement, why it had to be there, maybe some information from the utility company, if it's possible if those easements are moved. These are just off the top of our head, but those are some of the questions that I have. What's the cost? Maybe our neighborhood association can offset. We don't know if it's a $500 move, a $5,000 move to do this. Originally, about 7 or 8 years ago, when MAPS came in and proposed a gymnasium, I was all for it. I didn't come to any of the meetings. I liked the plans. Our neighborhood talked about it, but the gymnasium didn't get put in place then. And we all liked the architectural style. Now, when I got the information on Thursday, this is a whole new gymnasium in a whole different location, and I just have questions as to why we couldn't use the old plan, the old style. Why do we have to go away from that? And now that I have a house right on Hudson, and when I open my front door, I'm going to be looking at the back of this 30-foot brick building that's on, already 6 feet high. I've got a few questions that I don't think have been answered. And I'd like to have a little more time to talk to our neighborhood about it and the people that live there, because the structure is going to be there long after we are, for sure, and our family members. So, and we've had 3. I'd like to talk to some of the people at the school too. We've had several principals in the last few years, so I don't know if who's making the decisions at the school, because I haven't talked to anybody from the school or seen anyone at the school at our neighborhood meetings. So I'd just like to have the time to get together some neighbors and some people from the school and have a nice neighborhood community meeting about it.
Okay. What would be the possibility of having a continuance for a little more discussion with the neighborhood or the neighbors?
We did present to every committee, so the opportunity was there.
It was the board.
Just the board?
Yeah.
Okay. We do have, as part of the program for the bond issue, prior to us moving forward and getting school board approval, we do have to provide one more community meeting that the school district will set up for us. So there is one more opportunity to ask questions.
But will that be at the stage, or will it be when it's final design?
They're trying to schedule it anytime now. They're having trouble with the principals being out of school and getting that set up. What would be helpful if we could have those questions prior to that so that we could address those. So what are your specific concerns? As far as the value of the property, I think any time you put a storm shelter with a gymnasium, it could probably only drive the value up. That's a drawing factor to families and kids. So, and we do have 100% backing from the school. Like I said, we developed this site placement with the staff, the principal. But yes, there will be one more opportunity. Like I said, if we could have those questions, that would be helpful to address it.
But you don't have an idea when that would be? Can we delay our approval till we get more input from the neighborhood, or?
Here's what the code has to say about that.
You're ready.
Yeah, I was scrambling all around to find. The commission itself or the applicant may request a continuance of the case. So it's limited to those two rather than the public that may come. The other part that I wanted to bring to your attention is the notice requirement for hearings on applications for certificates of appropriateness. That notice was done. Notice was given by regular mail at least 6 business days prior to a hearing. So here we have the commission or the applicant that would request the continuance. And then the continuance period is not to exceed 60 days, and it is granted upon a supermajority of 2/3 vote of the commissioners present.
So our preference, and I believe our owner's preference, would to not have a continuance. Trying to get these projects completed as quick as possible. I think that's where we stand.
Well, if you're going to have another meeting, how would this delay the project? That was my point, was will you be doing further development before that meeting?
Not before the meeting, no.
Okay. So I understand completely not setting the project back, but if you're not going to do additional development before the meeting, the question would be how soon will the meeting
Well,
be?
I guess the delay would be is if we had to come back
Here.
this again, when would that be?
So one thought is just that I think the owner, the applicant, were hoping to be able to move forward with some degree of certainty that they were going to get approval from this body, because that's a requirement for them to be able to move forward, just generally speaking. A continuance would be to either August 3rd or to September 7th. Another option would be approval with the understanding that any changes that are made based on neighborhood feedback or other design concerns would have to come back through at least staff for an administrative amendment to the CA, and if it's a more significant change, that would come back to the commission anyway. So,
I guess I just need to know what suggestions are being made. Is it the location? Is it the height? Is it? I don't know what we're.
I think they're saying that a number of the neighbors close by haven't had an opportunity to comment at all. Okay, another neighbor would like to speak.
Hi, I'm Denise Waters. I'm past president of Edgemere Park, and also spoke with Doug Eason. He's our current president. He wanted me to come. He couldn't come today, so he wanted me to relay his thoughts on this. We have had the 4th of July celebration. There was a lot of neighbors there. That this is the first time that they've heard that this is a different design in a different location. And so they want the opportunity to look this over and discuss the changes that have been made at some kind of a special neighborhood meeting. The meeting that evidently happened before was only a neighborhood board meeting. It was not advertised to those people that were living that across from the school. So those neighbors that were directly involved in, looking at it every day. So we just need a little more time to have another neighborhood meeting that would include the entire neighborhood. We would advertise it, and then we would invite representatives to come and present what they have. That would give the neighbors an opportunity to ask questions. But I think, we all have questions because it's so different from what was proposed previously.
So my question, if we have that meeting, when will it be? How soon will it be? You don't know. Yeah.
Well, it could be 2 meetings. I mean, they could go ahead and, the neighborhood could go ahead. What I hear is the president of the neighborhood association is requesting through a board member, is this correct? To have a neighborhood meeting. And so that meeting doesn't have to be the same meeting. They're going to invite people to come.
Doesn't have to be.
So,
Would you be willing to present at a special meeting?
Yeah, I'm just wondering at what point, obviously we want to satisfy the community. We also have to satisfy our owner and the school. So any comments that come out of it, I mean, we'll take those in, but I don't know that we're required to make changes based on those comments. We have a budget to satisfy and an owner.
Well,
I'm just curious what the...
That's why I was suggesting that the meeting you're talking about, I know the process, is a standard meeting. Then you would be required to take those comments back, but not a separate meeting would be different. The city has certain processes it follows, so it would be informational, but not necessarily an official review, I think. That's my opinion.
you're saying if there's a neighborhood meeting, then you don't have to take those comments into consideration?
I'm saying, we would definitely. But at what point, where does it, are we required, if we have backing from the school district?
I think, I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, but I guess that even makes me more inclined to say that there needs to be some meetings.
I guess what I'm saying is that even if we got delayed, we listened to everybody's comments and we decided to not make changes based on what's best for the school district, what is the process after that? Did we just move forward and we've lost that time that we set back?
And everybody's unhappy, too, at that point, I would think. But I guess the way that you're saying it is you're getting me to go the opposite direction. I'm like, you're saying, I hope we don't hear what we don't want to, because if we hear that, then if we can go forward and do what we want, we will.
Well, for instance, if we were to move...
Does that make sense?
I think.
If we were to move the site, like I'm hearing,
Right.
and eliminate parking, well, now all of a sudden I've got to create more surface parking. I don't think anybody wants to do that. So
Right.
we're going to list the considerations, but we also have
Well, I don't think they're asking that initially. I think they're just asking why. I think that what I hear them saying is that there was a completely different plan, and it doesn't sound like that a lot of people have an understanding that the plan has changed, and they feel like that they need to appraise everybody.
The previous plan was part of MAPS 2, and the gymnasium was eliminated because of budget concerns. This is the bond issue now. This is a totally
Right.
different project, but
Right.
everybody remembers where it was.
Right.
So maybe we need to, I'll ask my owner to pull that out too.
That'd be good.
I mean, and I didn't really, until the neighbors' comments, I didn't really look at the very front page of your thing, which I think is, would be kind of, I would be kind of concerned if I was a neighbor, or if I had a house across the street, because when you look at your very front page on your site plan and you have a section, and I'm looking at the house across the street and I'm looking at the gymnasium, I'm going, that is a huge impact on the houses on the east side of the street. So if I didn't know that was happening, and then all of a sudden it's 30 feet, but in addition to that, it's really another 10 to 15. It's like a 40 to 50 foot building across the street from my house. I mean, might not be bad, I don't know. So,
Yeah, that's correct. So it is, it's sitting 10 feet, and another 30. I think it's set back maybe 36 feet. Even in that, it's still a shorter height than the school itself.
well, yeah. Anyway, Katie, what can we do?
Well, my thought is that if the commission has concerns about the application itself, that we can direct the applicant that we have concerns about this, we think this needs to be revised, then by all means the commission should continue the application and ask for additional information or ask for changes. If the commission is comfortable with the application from the standpoint of this body's purview, then I think the commission could approve it with the understanding that should any changes result from further public meetings, then that's going to come back through this body in any case.
I mean, I'm looking at a specific finding that if we did say yes at this point, we would be agreeing to that it is compatible in design, proportion, detail, adjacent, and appropriate, with the understanding that, we've taken into consideration neighborhood comments. now we have neighborhood comments that would lead me to believe that there's people in the neighborhood that are questioning that. They're not saying they have to make changes.
Here's the right side thing. Yes. That was another resident.
Hi, my name is Kelly Pearson, and I'm the founder of Friends of Edgemere School. And when you made that tour, it was about 5 years ago, and I led that tour. Anyway, the reason that I'm here is I'm a resident there in Edgemere Park, and from my bedroom window, I can see the school. And I've always enjoyed watching the kids out on the playground when I'm working at my desk. So I love looking at that school. But we raised over $200,000 to do things for that school. This neighborhood, the alumni, we have raised money to put into that school. We built the playground. We built the sports court. We've put things in there. If the district is upset that we have concerns, I think they should remember that $200,000 of what they use, we did. So, I'm sorry, I think that our neighborhood has always had the best hopes, and we want that school to be very successful, but also we want our neighborhood to look nice and to always be better. And if you put that on that corner with that how long is it, the gym? 150 feet?
124 by...
Okay. Going across, that covers 3 houses' view of the school. It blocks the sun for 3 houses. I just think that that's going to look really awkward on that corner. And I think there are other options. There may not be, but I think we should be able to look at the other options and not have this crammed down our throat, which is what it's kind of feeling like. So all we're asking is for a little bit of time. We're not asking them to not build a gym, because I worked for years to get them to build the gym. I was ecstatic that it was finally time. We just aren't sure this is the right placement for it, and we just want our questions answered. That's simple.
Thank you. Okay.
I didn't want to come off that we're not going to listen to the community. We absolutely want to do that. I guess what I'm asking is, do we satisfy HP's, our submittal here? Can we get approval for what we're doing? I don't know where you start and stop that.
Well, we tend to consider the neighborhood's, input. We have a number of reports or emails, feedback, so we tend to try to do that, because it's the character of the neighborhood that we're concerned about. So, I don't know. What do you guys feel about? I think our air conditioning just got turned off.
Must be fun. I think it's important. I think it's important to make sure that everybody in the neighborhood gets an explanation of what's going on, whether it changes or not. It just seems like when people show up down here, because most of the time, not that they don't show up, we get a report from meetings where people take the time to go out and look at all the projects that are going on in their neighborhood. They take the time to write it up and send it to us, knowing that we're going to take that in consideration. So when people show up in person and feel like that, for whatever reason, or whoever's, that there just hasn't been enough information out there for the community to see, then I feel like that we should allow them time. But I don't think the world's going to end if we have a couple of meetings and have the neighborhood get to talk to you for get explanations.
So do you think continue, or we're doing what Katie suggested, sort of a contingent approval?
A contingent approval, in my opinion, it's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around approving this with the specific findings, because those are the findings. But some of these findings are what the neighbors are concerned about.
Right. I agree.
I can't see support. I can't see that I could support approval with these findings. I think a continuance is more appropriate.
Okay. Is there a motion? More comments?
We can continue to August 3rd or to September 7th.
Be hard to have a meeting before next Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out, and it sounds like instead of 2 community meetings, we probably just need to have 1. There's no sense in us having 1.
Makes more sense.
And you holding 1, so we'll, what I'll have to do is when we leave here, I'll make your information, so you can contact my owner of the school district, and we can make that the same meeting. I think would be the best way to do that.
It'd be good if the school representatives were there also, just everybody that has input. Okay, is that a motion from,
I'll make a motion.
you're doing them all today?
Make a motion to continue HPCA 16-00105 to the September 7th meeting.
Second.
Okay, moved by Joe Meacham, second by Ann Zacharitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, continued, unfortunately. For you.
Sorry, I'm going to stay here. You got me for the next one.
Okay, all right.
HPCA 16-00106 at 501 Northwest 21st Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application of Oklahoma City Public School Board of Education by Jack Joyner of JHBR Architecture for certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct safe room gymnasium with covered walkway, elective.
So this one, same process, met with the school first, and then this, we actually did have a committee, or community meeting.
Community meeting.
This wasn't just for the board, this was for the entire, and we had a very good turnout, packed house, so unless I get somebody from behind me presenting, I think we're okay on Wilson, but.
Okay. So anything you want to describe on this one? That
Yeah, like I said, same process. When we looked at site placement, the principal wished that we put the gym as far, she wanted to preserve as much green space as she could. One thing, the community uses this park after hours. We talked about the safety and the visual sight lines of the staff. So we've placed it as far on the corner of 21st and Dewey as we could. And once again, canopy, not physically connected to either building, but covered all the way. Height concerns, as opposed to Edgemere Wilson, we don't really have homes fronting where we're putting on gymnasium. There's a garage that the side of it, maybe a side of a house, so it's a little bit better. We don't have, we're 30 feet tall still, but we don't have that 10-foot grade difference there, so it's a little bit better situation here at Wilson.
Just looking at both of them, one of the things that's different about this is that the short side of the gym faces Dewey, so it's less impact, whereas Edgemere, the long side, which is more imposing, faced Hudson. So,
yeah, correct.
So that's a little bit.
It does help.
Oh, so anything else you'd like to say or questions for? Okay. So we have a resident who'd like to comment. Focus on this one.
Marva Ellard, 1521 North Chartel Avenue. The architects came to Historic Preservation, Inc. meeting and presented the plans, and I was also at a PTA board meeting where the plans were discussed, and I was just going to tell you some of the things that were talked about. There's some people that would just not like to have it at all, but that might not be a possibility. Some people would rather have more outdoor space. Some people would like it on the parking lot, but I don't know that the teachers would like that. So I think the site is probably about as good as we can get, but there are houses that face the long side of the gymnasium on 21st Street. So you're on 22nd Street. That's Dewey. That's okay, but there are little bungalows all along 21st Street, but the gym sits back because of the parking lot some, so it's probably minimized. One of the comments that I've heard from some of the PTA people and some of our board members is, why can't the building be on the fence line? There's a gap of maybe 5 or 6 feet between the fence and the building, so why can't the building just be the fence? And then you don't have trash and weeds and everything else growing up, and it also pushes it off of the playground a little bit more. Ms. Meacham brought this up earlier, but the tan stucco window things to some of us is kind of detracting and too much pattern. I think you drive by the administration building on Klein, or you go by Page Woodson, or you go by Harding, or you go by a lot of the older schools in town, there's just kind of an inlaid brick pattern or outlines of brick, and that seems that it would be more fitting to have more red brick and less tan stucco. There was a discussion about windows in this, and I drove by Putnam Heights, what I assume is their gym. It looks like the gym. And there's windows up high along both long sides of it. So I don't quite understand why theirs has it and these don't. Is there a reason? Isn't theirs a storm shelter?
Which one?
But I mean, Putnam Heights is a storm shelter too. I don't know, but I would think it would be, but it was built with MAPS money, so maybe it was just a gym.
I don't think you could have windows of any type in a storm shelter.
You can if you put metal shutters that can lower in front of the windows, you can have them. But they're pretty expensive. I struggle to see that
yeah.
The schools would put that.
Right.
And the entrance to me, I think maybe some input from the architects on the commission might be interesting. I don't know.
The entry
to the gym.
Talking about the area of the tan brick with where it comes in from the school.
Mm-hmm. So those are the main comments. I don't think anybody is asking for a delay or other meetings. We have had several well-attended meetings on it. Those are just some of the comments that have come out of those meetings.
Okay, thank you. Is this, the rendering we've got, that's as it will be, or is there change of colors? Or
Correct, but once again, you see the white canopy and the blue colors. That'll probably be toned down to, once again, the bronze.
Bronze?
Yep.
So no blue?
I'm sorry?
No blue?
I would prefer blue, but no, it's not going to be blue.
All right.
And so,
in
I think
this
the
case-
comment about the placement, so we're currently 5 feet off the sidewalk and 5 feet off that fence. If we tore that fence down, you could move that. We were leaving that 5 feet in respect to foundations, those brick pilasters and all that. We didn't want to get into that fence. So if we looked at that option, you might be able to do that.
Well, it also shows an apparent property line 5 feet inside the fence line. So you could not build where the fence is, according to the drawing, if the property
Yeah.
line is,
And I'll have to relook at that and verify that.
if that's correct, the apparent property line. I guess you didn't have a good survey, or?
No, we do have a survey.
But anyhow, it's set back about 5 feet, looks like.
But it's sitting on the property line. Is that
Right now.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fence is further out.
5 feet into the right of way.
Right.
I mean, I'm in agreement on the fence in that it seems a 5-foot space on an elementary playground that you can get between a fence and a building. It
So-
seems like a bad, either move the fence to the edge of the building or something. It just seems like it'd be hard to maintain that. Plus kids, I don't know, it seems like a weird distance for a fence.
So if you look at the site plan, we are showing landscape in that 5-foot area. I guess they have a partner, corporate partner, that provides their landscape and maintains it very well at Wilson. So we talked about doing that with low maintenance, so they wouldn't have to get in there and maintain with grass or anything, and also fencing off. We talked with the principal about fencing off if we were to leave this in its current location. So we have taken that into consideration.
So you'd have fenced-in bushes. It just seems like a great way to have, trash, like a trash. I still, my same comment is same as Marva Ellard's on the fake windows. That just seems like, since there's a precedent for designing large schools and the sides of gymnasiums, it just seems weird for people to, I think people that don't know anything, they're going to look at it and go, I wonder why they filled those windows in. To me, it's just a natural, instead of going, hey, that looks really good, they made fake windows. I mean, so you've got two responses. You've got fake windows, or it looks like you've filled in the original windows.
Gotcha. And that's something we can evaluate and make changes to.
That's all.
So, do we have a motion on this one? Neighborhood seems to be...
Now, I will say, it's the same process. We do have...
One more meeting?
We do have a community meeting that will be set up by the school district, similar to Edgemere. But we have met with the entire neighborhood committee, or those that wanted to participate previously.
Were there any comments that you got from previous meetings that led to changes of the design?
No.
I have to say that I am kind of uneasy with fake windows, emulating fake windows. I'd rather see a contrasting panel like you were talking about.
I mean, usually they just took like a soldier deal and maybe a little different color in the corner. It was just a square. It wasn't like a fake thing.
Yeah, that's an easy, we can make that evaluation.
That's less expensive, too.
Yeah, it helps the budget.
I mean, I think so, too.
You guys have already thrown my budget out the window on this one.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, so if you think about Page Woodson, I go by there quite often,
Yeah.
and you see actually some of the spaces, like maybe it was where the pool was or something,
Right.
there were windows,
Right.
and they had been filled in over
Right.
time. So you do sort of see that, but it's a natural evolution of a building rather than building a fake something. Other parts of that same building, though, you see exactly what you're talking about. There'll be little cast stone squares or something,
Right,
and bands
yes.
of brick that kind of,
And
are the
because
side
it
of
was
the
a big
auditorium
wall.
fly loft or something.
Right.
And that makes sense.
Because there couldn't be
Right.
windows. I guess that would be just more in the historic tradition.
Of an actual as-built, rather than trying to create a false history of something.
I mean, I know you don't want it to be just one big boring brick building, but it kind of, I mean,
We would like to see something not emulating...
windows. That would be my...
Okay, so if we make those exterior changes, we need to update the colors of the canopies, that kind of thing. I don't know if that's something we have to come back for, if we can work with the staff moving forward on that.
Could be decorative tiles or something more artistic.
I mean, traditionally, it's just either a contrasting brick or a cast stone of some sort, like like a little square in the corner.
Right now, what they are right now is they're plaster, similar to the most recent addition that was done out there. They've got some of that banding look also.
I mean, I'll make a motion. Do we want to include that as a condition?
I'd like to see it. I don't want it to be something that they're going to consider or evaluate. I want to see that it's something that's going to be part of the final
Incorporated.
design.
The design of the
windows.
window, okay.
And if the fence is over the property line now, that doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry?
If the fence is over the property line now, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, so I'd kind of like that to be looked into a little bit, that if that is a possibility. I mean, I think the neighborhood has kind of felt that this was a forum that they could talk about design issues in. I came when the architects presented a month or two ago, but I felt like that was their opportunity to present to you all. You weren't looking for feedback from us, and so I felt that this meeting was the meeting that we could give feedback. And so there have been comments made by a lot of neighbors and about different things, and now seems to be the time to figure out if some things are possible, and if it's not just the principal. The neighborhood is very vested in these schools, as you all know.
They're going to be there forever.
So,
Right, I mean, I think you all are in the same situation as Edgemere. I mean, there's been a lot of private money from the neighborhood invested in the school, and so you feel like you have a...
and the architects have been good about communicating and coming to meetings and asking to come to meetings. I don't want to make it sound that they haven't. They have, they right off the bat came after they came up to talk to Ms. Friddle about what would be required of them. I got an email probably within a day. So I just think that there's things that we'd like to refine a little bit.
Are you saying that, I mean, are we going to include something? Or are we going to have another, how would we do that?
I think if the commission's comfortable with the specific changes as far as aligning with the fence and the brick detail at the windows, I think those are both clear enough and minor enough changes that could be a revision that comes to staff. If there are more conceptual design issues that you want.
We're not talking here about moving it, for instance.
Right.
No.
So,
I mean, is the applicant, I mean, would those two things be acceptable?
Yeah.
okay, so make a motion for approve with conditions? Is that the way it would work?
Right. So I'd make a motion to approve HBCA 16-00106 with the specific findings included in the staff report and the conditions 1, 2, and 3 with the addition of 4, which would be to submit a submit drawings or information, whatever, submit drawings and information in regards to materials for a new design where the fake windows are for something else. That would be to be approved by staff.
What about the fence? What about the fence?
That's okay. That's going to be number 5.
Okay.
Number 5 is to locate the fence in such a manner that there is not a small space between the fence and the building either. I think that what I'm hearing is that the fence could be moved up to the edge of the building so there could be grass there, and then the fence could come off the edge of the building, but not to create a space between the fence and the building.
Or move the building 5 feet if that's allowed, if the property exists.
Yes, if you, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be difficult. There is nothing in their application at all about a fence, and we're not approving anything to do with well, it's on the site plan, but they didn't apply for a fence. So I think we could say...
we'll just recommend that you consider that. Can we just recommend
that I'm trying to think of how to, that either the building be relocated or that an additional proposal to relocate the fence be submitted to address the gap between the building and the fence. Something along those lines.
So the condition would be move the building 5 feet to the west, or if that's not possible, then to come back with an additional proposal to do something with the fence? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, if you would state a condition, then we could include that instead of trying to do this.
Yes, what would be your solution for the fence building gap?
The 5 feet.
I mean, in addition, we could say the applicant would like to include.
So let me look at, I need to evaluate that site survey and see if we do have property line issues.
That's a good point.
And let me take it from there. I can't answer that right now, but.
Okay, so my follow-up to that is that moving the building 5 feet is something we, I think, could do as an administrative amendment. That's a small enough shift. In addition, we could certainly administratively approve removal or relocation of a segment of the fence. So I think we can just, you could do a condition, well, I think you can just approve it without that condition, and we'll work through that.
Okay.
Okay, well, number 5, whether it's written or not, is that you need to have approval for the location of your fence in the end. So you can't, I mean, that would make it where you cannot build the fence until, you might have to come back here or go to staff for a final location of the fence, because it wasn't included in your original.
And it's not included because it's there. They're not touching the existing fence. So that's why it's not included.
Okay.
Sorry, that wasn't clear.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that, okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, I think I'm finished with number 4.
So what was the last part?
I don't have a number 5 in regards to the fence. 4 was just in regards to the fake window design.
Okay, so no number 5.
No number 5.
Okay, is there a second? Second. So moved by Joe Meacham, second by Ann Zackritz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, it looks like we're through all those, and we're on to what? Other business?
No other business. We have many, many administrative approvals.
Wow.
A withdrawal and a couple of closures.
Okay.
Nothing to report from City Council. We had a case that was appealed to the Board of Adjustment and was heard on June 2nd. That appeal was denied, so the Commission's decision was upheld. That appeal deny is always confusing. And to our knowledge, it hasn't been appealed any further beyond that.
What will be the next step?
District Court.
District Court.
Right. The four-car garage.
They missed their deadline.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's, I mean, the deadline to have appealed another time is long gone at this point. So.
Okay. All right. Next meeting date for the Historic Preservation Commission is August 3rd, 2016 at 2 p.m. right here. New applications for this meeting were received July 5th. New information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, July 12th. The next regular scheduled workshop for the Historic Preservation Commission is Wednesday, September 14th from 11:30 to 1:30 at 420 West Main, Suite 900. Are there any items from commissioners? Any citizens left? No. We're adjourned. Well, I didn't say anything. Municipal councilor?
No.
Nothing. Okay. Now we're adjourned.